Me 36F with my ex-boyfriend 36M of over 10 years. His wife 40F has alienated him from all his friends and family, and has started messaging me on Facebook. A little background, sorry there's lots of text and names. I'll try to keep this as clear as possible. My ex-boyfriend Bill and I were together for 10 years from the ages of 15 to 25. We lived together for the last 5 years of the relationship. We broke up very amicably with zero hard feelings. We just realized that we had both grown up into two very different people than we were at 15. I'm still friendly with his mother and his brother Fred 39M through Facebook. Bill is also friends with my family members, and we have lots of mutual friends. After we broke up, we remained friends, and a couple of years later, I meet my wonderful husband 38M, and I now have a gorgeous little girl 4. Bill also met his current wife Fiona around the same time I met my husband. We've both met each other's spouse, and have gotten along well. Over time, Bill and I grew even further apart, and only exchange niceties over Facebook once in a while. Again, no hard feelings. It's all part of growing up. The problem started when I fell pregnant with my daughter. Bill and Fiona have had trouble conceiving, and while I sympathize with the struggle they're having, it has started affecting their relationships with our mutual friends. Fiona started getting a little unhinged, for lack of better term, when she found out I was pregnant, and told Bill he couldn't contact me anymore. I didn't really care. I understand it must be hard for her, so I didn't say anything at all, as it's none of my business. After that, she started defriending and blocking all of our mutual friends who were pregnant or had kids. This hurt my best friend's Anne feelings, as she was also Bill's best friend. Anne moved across the country, and Fiona told Bill that he couldn't see Anne when she came to visit, which hurt Anne even more. I got pissed at Bill, and even though I wanted to stay out of it, I had to tell him how much he hurt Anne. He told me that he would make an effort next time she visited, but he never did. Now Fiona and Bill have moved halfway around the world to Australia. She has cut off all contact with his family. Bill's older brother Fred had a baby recently, and Fiona instantly defriended Fred and his wife, as well as Bill and Fred's mother. She refuses to let Bill spend time with his family over the holidays, and wouldn't let him stay with his family when he came back to visit without her. I have largely stayed out of this because I do not want to get involved with the crazy, but recently Fiona has started emailing me. She got my email from Bill's account, and has told me that I should stop talking to all our mutual friends, so she can add them back on Facebook. What the ever-loving fuck? She's also telling me very personal details about their relationship and asking my advice, which is just crazy. She wants me to write up a statement that says that my ex has autism, he doesn't, so she can give it to his doctor. I haven't responded to any of her emails, and I don't know what to do. I have had zero contact with Bill over the last 2 years, since I talked to him about Anne, and am getting all this information from our mutual friends. This woman is obviously disturbed, and as much as I want to stay out of it, she's hurting people I care about, and I think might be emotionally abusing my ex, who may be a pushover, but is a genuinely nice guy. What can I do to help him? Reddit. I'm 100% sure she's reading his emails and Facebook, so I can't message him privately. Also, he lives in another country, so I can't try to meet up with him. There is definitely something wrong with her, and I want to try to help her out too. TLDR. I think my ex-boyfriend is being emotionally manipulated by his wife, who is alienating him from friends and family. I want to help him but don't know how. Some of comments. Commenter. I would forward all the messages first to his family, asking if they know what's going on. Next, I would forward them to Bill's email saying, "You got these messages and are really worried." Even if she can see them, she knows that she can't get to him through you. Unfortunately, what you can do is limited. They're in a different country. You don't have any means of communication. You could call the police in that country, but I don't know if they'll be able to do anything. Ultimately, he's an adult, so unless there's proof that she's abusing him or holding him against his will, there's not much you or his family and friends can do. Reply: good idea. I'll do that. I'm just worried he's being abused or she'll lash out at him somehow. Commenter: maybe reach out with your concerns to Fred. Since you stayed friendly with him, I'm sure he has similar reservations about Fiona, and maybe you validating them will help him support Bill as he deal with his wife's issues and/or abuse. I don't know what else you can do, since they live far away and you don't have any contact with Bill. Reply: I talked to Fred recently to congratulate him about the baby. I casually asked about how Bill was doing, and that's when I learnt about how he's not allowed to stay with his folks when he visits. Fred is pissed off, rightfully so, and wants nothing to do with Fiona or Bill. I'll forward the emails to him anyway, so at least the family has a record of it. OP confirms. Yup, you read that right. She wants me to stop talking to my friends of 20+ years so she can browse Facebook without having to see anything to do with me. We're too old for Facebook drama bullshit. To a longer comment, thanks. I'm so sorry that happened to your ex. I'm going to try to find a way of letting him know that I'll be here to support him when he wants it. Almost all of his friends and most of his family have stopped contacting him because of Fiona. Even my husband is worried about him. Like I said before, Bill may be spineless, but this is so unlike him. He's always been really social and family-oriented. He loved spending time with his brother and parents. And we used to go on holiday with them every year, so I know something is wrong. Update post. So I forwarded her messages to my ex's brother Fred. He called me immediately and said that he would try to get a hold of his brother as soon as possible. I forgot to say in my earlier post, but Bill works as an independent consultant contractor in IT, so it was hard getting a hold of him in his workplace. Frank received a few responses from Bill. Just short emails saying he was okay, but Fred wasn't really buying it. Thankfully, I hadn't received any more messages from Fiona. I didn't reply to any of her emails, so I guess she gave up on me. I didn't think there was much more that anyone could do, so just got on with looking after my own family. My husband, let's call him Dan, knew that I was worried about my ex. And as a testament to what a great guy he is, he said about trying to contact him as they both work in the same field of IT. I know apparently I have a very specialized type, LOL. Dan is close to his boss and told him about the situation. Dan's boss contacted Bill through LinkedIn to set up a Skype consult. Dan's reasoning is that if Fiona is monitoring Bill's emails and social media, then this will fly under her radar as she doesn't know Dan's boss and his connection to us. My husband is a sneaky clever bastard. They scheduled the call a day later, and my husband hopped onto the call as well. He didn't tell me exactly what he said, but the gist of it is that Dan and his boss told Bill that we were all worried about him, and that if he needed help to just let us know. Bill broke down and started crying. He felt so helpless and thought that no one cared about him. Turns out she was reading all his emails and deleted all the ones from his family, as well as controlling all the finances. She was also physically assaulting him and was too embarrassed to tell anyone she's just shy of 5 foot. He's 6'4". Dan and his boss told him to pack his bags and head to the airport, and they bought him a one-way ticket back home. Bill arrived home a week or so ago, and he's doing well. He's staying with his mother and father, and Fred has been helping him get back on his feet and handle the legal stuff. Needless to say, they are extremely grateful to my husband and his boss, and have paid back the cost of the ticket, as well as buying Dan and his boss several bottles of very expensive bourbon which they insisted on. We were happy to cover the ticket, but weren't going to argue with them. Dan and I told them that now he's home, we were going to take a step back. His family is looking after him now, and they don't need our help anymore. We'll still keep in touch, though, and I think we'll always be close to Bill and his family from now on. Fred did tell me that she doesn't want to come back home, so we don't have to worry about her turning up on our doorstep. I don't know how Fiona reacted. She hasn't sent me any emails, so I don't think she knows I was involved, or what's going to happen legally, because I don't want to be so involved anymore. It's time we focused on our family for a bit because I'm pregnant. Couldn't have picked a better man to breed with. Also, Dan's boss let Dan bill the hours of Bill's rescue as personal development, because there are still decent people in the world. TLDR. My instincts were right. Bill was being abused emotionally and physically by his crazy now ex-wife. My husband and his boss staged an intervention under the guise of work and bought Bill a plane ticket home. Bill's doing fine. He's going to counseling, and everyone is giving him lots of support. My husband and I had fun times, and now I'm knocked up. Some of commenter A+ on this entire update. This post had everything. Travel, high-stakes job interviews, awesome boss, a supportive husband, good triumphing over crazy Fiona stuck on a giant island, and pregnancy, seriously. So glad Bill is safe, and I hope he goes into therapy and gets the support of his family. Reply, not just any giant island. but a giant island infested with deadly spiders. Commenter. It's so great to hear a situation where so many people stepped in to help while keeping good boundaries. You don't see a lot of that in this sub. Congrats on the little one. I hope you have an easy pregnancy. Reply. Thanks. I'm currently face first in the toilet, but hopefully it'll get better soon. Babies are awesome, but being pregnant sucks hard. Editor's note, seeing as this was 9 years ago. I hope Bill is doing great, along with OP and her husband and their kids. Also, it's interesting to see how language and vernacular changed in the last decade. I hadn't heard defriend in a while. Also, OP was making a joke with breed with. It's not a manosphere term in this case. Stories number 2. My ex-boyfriend broke up with me because he thought I cheated. I was SA, should I tell him the truth? I 18F was in a relationship with my ex-boyfriend a year ago. We were friends long before we got together. He was the first person that made me feel so safe wanted. I come from a pretty bad family. So he was my everything. He was honestly perfect. He never did me wrong. We had so many plans for our future after we graduated high school. We're both young, 18, almost 19, but those plans felt so real, possible. But that ended after I was SA. I won't detail what exactly happened to me. I never told my ex-boyfriend about my assault. Some people from our school made up a rumor that I cheated on him. He didn't believe the rumor at all. He asked me if I cheated on him. I was so ashamed and afraid. I know I should have told him the truth, but I couldn't. I don't know why. It felt like I cheated even without my consent. I felt so dirty, disgusting. He took that as my answer. And I remember how sad his face was. He cried later too. I wanted to comfort him, but he wanted to be alone. He left me after that. Since then, he hasn't badmouthed me to anyone. He stops it when people try to insult me. I feel like I deserve people's comments, though. I've been depressed ever since. We go to the same college, by the way, and sometimes we see each other on campus. He sometimes acknowledges me in our one shared class, just a glance, that's it. We haven't spoken to each other since we graduated high school. I don't even know what I could say to him. Nothing I could say can heal our relationship and friendship. I wonder if it would be wrong to tell him the truth. Now I don't want to disturb his life. Would it be wrong? Edit, I did go to the police about my SA, but they never did anything about it. I am in therapy now. Edit 2, I decided that I will tell him about my SA. We share a Mon-Wed Fry class, so I will try my best to speak with him after. Comments, commenter 1. The fact that he stops it when people try to insult me is a huge tell. He's a decent guy who was hurt by incomplete information. Telling him the truth now isn't disrupting his peace. It's correcting a tragic misunderstanding. You both have been living with a false narrative. Give him, and yourself, the chance to replace that story with the real, albeit painful facts. Reply. I want to tell him so badly the truth, but I'm afraid to even speak with him without crying, being a mess. I thought about writing him a letter, but I'm not sure. ETA. I decided that I will tell him about my SA. We share a Mon-Wed Fry class, so I will try my best to speak with him after. Commenter 1, because he sounds like a decent guy. I think you should talk to him. He may actually be more sympathetic than you think. It would give him closure, and he may also wish you were still friends. I can't understand how hard a time this is for you, but I'd think having another friend in your court would help. Can you seek counseling to help with your guilt? Update, I did it. I told my ex-boyfriend the truth about my essay. It was a little awkward since we hadn't spoken for about a year. He listened and didn't interrupt me as I explained everything. I admit that I was crying a little. I made it clear that I didn't expect anything from him, but that I wanted him to know that I didn't cheat on him. I even wrote him a letter in case I couldn't talk to him after class that included a portion of my police report. I was expecting him to open it, read it. But instead he hugged me and thanked me for telling the truth. I asked if he wanted to see the police report, but he said he already believed me. At this point, I was already crying a lot. He held me for a while. He said that he missed me so much, and that he's happy I spoke with him. I'm back home from campus. I don't live in a dorm, and he called me to make sure I was okay. I'm so happy that I told him the truth and regretting not telling him back then. He texted me a while ago, asking if I wanted to hang out this weekend. He said he missed our friendship, and wants to try again slowly. I'm so happy that I can cry again. I'm probably gonna get dehydrated. Thanks for all the kind advice, comments, commenter 1, good for you. Part of taking your power back, reply. I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I'm so glad I told him. ETA, I got off the phone with him again. Oh, how I missed his voice and laugh. LOL, commenter 2, happy for you. It's a big step and hopefully helps in your healing journey. Good luck with the newly defined friendship that you are embarking on. Reply, thanks. I'm happy to have him be a part of my healing journey. Commenter 3. So glad you found the courage to tell him the truth. That must have been incredibly hard. Sounds like he handled it exactly the right way too. What a relief that he believed you without needing to see the report. Reply, I'm glad I found the courage to tell him. He did keep my letter police report, so I'm guessing he read it alone. But I'm glad he believed me when I spoke to him. Commenter 4, this is a beautiful update. I truly hope that you can heal. Get all the help you can and need now. It is a long journey, but I promise you, it will get better. Wishing you and your ex-BF all the best. Reply, healing is hard, but I'm getting there. I haven't been happy for a while, until today at least. I imagined my conversation with him ending badly, but thankfully, that didn't happen. Stories number 3. My childhood best friend's wedding was the worst. I was a bridesmaid in my childhood best friend's wedding. I wasn't expecting it to be such a shit show, but it was the worst 24 hours of wedding festivity I have ever experienced. She was not a bridezilla at all, and let us choose our own dresses in the color she chose, which was great. My parents were invited, as was my family, husband and kids, but since we lived 8 hours away, I opted to go with my mom and dad and leave my kids and husband at home. So my dad drove me and dropped me off at a hotel the night before the rehearsal, and I rode to the venue with another bridesmaid. We were supposed to stay at the venue the night before the wedding since it was about 40 minutes outside of the city and in the middle of nowhere. I got to the rehearsal lunch and it was on the lawn outside of the venue and there was a potluck set up. Okay, that's fine. I get that not everyone has a huge budget. We do the rehearsal and eat this weird potluck meal, and then the bride says to all 6 bridesmaids, "Don't forget to make yourself a plate for dinner and go put it in the fridge inside." I was immediately taken aback, but I followed directions without objecting. That night we were supposed to be having her bachelorette party, so I was expecting to go out, or at least order in a meal, but instead, we had funky potluck leftovers. Okay, fine, whatever, it was one meal, so I moved on. Then, we all have to help set up tables outside, and my friend says, "I need you guys to make your bouquets, prepare food for tomorrow, and iron the tablecloths, and set up chairs and tables." We spent 6 hours working our asses off and my back was screaming after ironing these cloths with her sister again. I get that budgets can be tight, but there was no warning that we were going to be put to work. And I was in a mini dress and heels doing hard labor and moving furniture. Her husband-to-be and his white trash friends left right after the rehearsal and stayed in a hotel and got trashed. Not a scrap of help from them. Come 8 p.m., we were all exhausted, but we rallied and ate our crusty potluck food while the 7 of us shared a solitary bottle of champagne. It was nice to catch up and chat, the morning of the wedding. We all got dressed and did our makeup, and then the other bridesmaids started freaking out because they didn't know how to do their hair. And the bride said, we all needed to try to do something with our hair. As a mom of 2 daughters, I stepped in and did the hair of 4 of the bridesmaids, and had to scramble to do my own before the ceremony. The bride had a hairstylist and makeup artist come in. If she had offered, I gladly would have paid to have mine done, but it was not an option at that point. The ceremony was fine, but I was just ready to go home. Then we get to the reception. They brought in a BBQ truck to provide the food, which was forgettable, and they had a bar, but I was told that we had to pay for our drinks. Again, okay, that's fine. I'll buy my own damn Pinot Gris. Then I see the groomsmen getting progressively more tanked, and they are at the bar every 5 minutes. I asked the bride what was up with that, and she said, "Oh, new husband paid for his groomsmen to have an open bar. Neat." These dudes were being so nasty, and it was throwing the vibes off massively. The bridesmaids and I danced and enjoyed ourselves as best as we could with our self-purchased drinks. And then finally it is time for the bride and groom to leave. A huge limo rolls up and the bride is shocked. She says to me, "OMG, my parents said they had a surprise for us." She then informed me that since I had moved away, Her mom and dad had become multimillionaires because they had invested in properties all over town so they could afford the limo. I asked tactfully if they had been the ones who paid for the wedding, and she said, "Oh yeah, all of it. They are loaded. You could have fooled me." The bride and groom rode away, and then her parents came up to the wedding party and said, "It's time to tear down." The groomsmen were blitzed and slinking away, and the other bridesmaids and I were so pissed. I finally just said no. I had my parents there at this time, so I hopped into their car and hightailed it out of there. It was the worst wedding I have ever been to, and it made me so angry to find out that her parents are loaded, and they just didn't feel like paying for their youngest child to have a nice wedding. She's somehow still married to her husband, but I hate him so much. They came to visit my family once a few years ago, and he kept pulling my dog's tail, which confirmed my suspicions that he's just an asshole. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this story. It felt good to get it off my chest. Remember, folks, if you can pay for help on a special day, don't be an asshole and cheap out. Comments. Commenter 1. I wasn't even there, and reading it stressed me out like I was part of it. Sucks, you guys had to go through that. Commenter 2. I'd be a little curious if the parents gave her a budget and told her she could keep what wasn't spent on the wedding. Commenter 3. The fact that the bride was stupid enough to tell her guests that the groomsmen got an open bar when the bridesmaids didn't was monumental. Telling her guests that her parents were loaded even tops that. Commenter 4. They couldn't even order in a couple pizzas. Potluck food too. Electric Boogaloo almost made me gag. Stories number 4. My sister-in-law flipped out because I didn't reserve food for her kid. Last weekend during a casual family lunch at my place, I had invited my in-laws over nothing fancy. Just homemade pasta, garlic bread, and salad. Everyone was serving themselves buffet style from the kitchen counter, and I'd made sure everything was kid-friendly too. Since my sister-in-law, let's call her Marie, was bringing her 7-year-old son. When they arrived, we said our hellos, and everyone headed over to grab their plates. I helped my toddler first, then started serving myself while chatting with my mother-in-law. Marie was on her phone, her son just standing near her, looking kind of lost. But I figured she'd help him once she noticed. About 10 minutes later, everyone's at the table eating and her kid is still wandering around without a plate. I quietly asked Marie if he needed help, and she snapped that I should have served him like everyone else. I told her I assumed she'd want to fix his plate since I didn't know what he liked or how much he'd eat. She rolled her eyes, got up in a huff, and loudly said something like, "I guess it's too much to expect some basic help." It made everything super awkward. I felt bad, but also kind of irritated. It wasn't like I ignored her kid, I genuinely thought she had it covered. I also don't feel great about being scolded like that in front of everyone when I was just trying to host and feed a group of 8. Later my husband told me Marie texted him saying I was cold and made her feel unwelcome. He said not to take it personally. I like Marie, but I don't think I was being rude or neglectful. So am I overreacting for feeling annoyed and a bit hurt? Comments. Commenter 1 Nor. Marie was rude. She was fixing the war in the Middle East, so that's why she couldn't get of her darn phone. This was her child. She knows what he likes and what he doesn't, and how much he can eat. Even if she was taking active part in the peace conference, she could have served her child reply exactly. It's her own kid, she knows what he likes and how much he'll eat. I didn't mind helping, I just didn't want to overstep. She was right there and could have easily served him instead of being glued to her phone. Her reaction felt a bit over the top. Commenter 2. You served your toddler, then yourself. You didn't serve everyone and ignore the child. It's on the mom to make sure her child has a plate. Sounds like SIL is an entitled brat and expects everyone to bend over backwards for her. She's also a terrible mom, blaming someone else for not feeding her child when everyone is helping themselves. And she's right there. Any normal mom with an actual interest in her own child will make sure they are fed before she is. He's 7, he's perfectly capable of putting his own plate up. If it's up too high, he's capable of opening his mouth and saying, "Auntie, can you get me something, please? I can't reach." The fact he was wandering around looking lost means this isn't unusual for him. She feeds him when she remembers, or expects others to feed him. He's just used to being ignored, and asking doesn't get any results. Commenter 3. Did she do her own plate? If so, then why didn't she do one for her son? It sounds like she was busy filling her own face. and not sorting out some food for her child. Regardless, there was no need for her to be rude to you in your own home, when you've already prepared food for them all. Don't invite her next time. Reply, yep, she absolutely made her own plate. That's what confused me the most, if she had time to serve herself. Why not fix a plate for her own kid too? I didn't mind helping, but I can't read minds, commenter 4 nor what I think happened is that Marie really wasn't paying attention, and when you asked her if he needed help, she realized everyone was eating except him, and it made her look like a bad mom in front of her family, so she snapped to try to put it on you like it was your fault for not serving him. I think you handled it the best that you could. I would just ignore her and try to move on from it. It seems like Marie is drama, and your husband knows this. Stories number 5. Aita for telling a woman to charge a guy more at a yard sale. I was shopping around our city's yard sales yesterday and stopped to look through some clothes. While I was looking, a guy walked up and asked the old lady running the sale if she had anything golf-related. My ears perked up because I have just recently gotten into golf. The lady said she had her late husband's clubs but didn't know what they would be worth, so she dragged them out to show the guy. It was obvious the guy knew golf by the way he took a couple practice swings, and you could tell by his car and clothing he appeared to be well off. As he looked around the bag, the lady was telling him that her husband had just passed and that she didn't know if the clubs were worth anything. He said they weren't that great and offered $200 for everything. She seemed hesitant and said she didn't know, and he just kind of talked over her and said, "Here, I'll go grab the money," and walked towards his car. I walked over to see what was in the bag, and for anyone who knows golf, I'll throw this out there. Almost new GT3 driver and 3 wood. Gently used Mizuno irons, nice Titleist wedges. A very nice looking Scotty putter. Great condition Titleist cart bag. This stuff combined would be a steal at $1K. Obviously this lady's late husband had spent a good penny on the clubs, and I felt bad for her, so I told her she should pass on that guy's offer and have someone at a local courses pro shop help her price the stuff out to sell if she wanted. She seemed totally shocked when I told her the driver and 3 wood were probably worth $800 alone. When the guy came back, he was glaring at me, and when he tried to hand the lady the cash, she said no thanks, and that she was going to get the stuff appraised. He got upset and told her she can't back out of a deal, so I chimed in that they didn't really make a deal. He got pissed at me and told me I needed mind my business. The lady then told him she wasn't interested again and to please leave. He walked to the ED of the driveway and just stood there angry like my toddler would. Before he walked away, he called me an asshole and stomped off. The whole thing was more funny than anything to me. I was telling this story to my coworkers today, and they were all dogging on me saying I should have kept my mouth shut and let the guy get the good deal. But it felt wrong letting him rip her off. So am I the asshole here? Commenter 1. I was telling this story to my coworkers today, and they were all dogging on me, saying I should have kept my mouth shut and let the guy get the good deal. You work with people who would support a guy ripping off a widow? Who expressed disappointment that you didn't let it happen? Why do you ever speak to these people? Are these even people? For the love of fuck, let me tell you something. Her husband literally torpedoed back to this world through you to stop that shit from happening. NTA. Commenter 2. Yep. Normally I'd say you're the A for sticking your nose where it doesn't belong, but that dude was the A for trying to take advantage of a widow. F him. You were a good Samaritan. NTA. Commenter 3. Fun anecdote. I knew a friend's husband was a pile of trash when he bragged about getting a really expensive niche item from a Craigslist ad posted by a disabled lady because she spelled the name of the product wrong. She hadn't been able to sell it for several months despite keeping the ad updated, and was desperate for money due to an upcoming surgery. He made like a couple $1,000 on the deal and was elated. Lost all respect I had for the man right then. I was proven right over the course of a few years afterwards. Commenter 4. NTA. She didn't have the club sitting out for sale with a $200 price tag. I think that would have been different. She wasn't ready to sell them because she didn't know what they were worth, and he set the price. It doesn't sound like she even agreed to it. Good for you, OP. Stories number 6. My best friend, 22F of 16 years, who has never shown interest in me, surprises me 22M at my graduate school apartment, and seduces me into a friends with benefits relationship. I've known this girl, Erin, since we were in elementary school. Our families are really close. Our parents are best friends and neighbors. We would often spend countless hours together at each other's houses. It got to the point where we could literally let each other in each other's houses or rooms with parental supervision, which is a big deal as teens. I've always been attracted to her. In middle school she was cute. High school she was extremely attractive. We went to prom together as friends. I've told her a few times over the years how I felt, and she was always saying, let's just be friends, or that would be weird, pretty much turning me down. We grew distant in undergrad due to us attending different universities, and then she studied abroad but still kept in touch from time to time. Skype, text, holidays, etc. In undergrad, I started working out seriously and playing soccer. We both played since we were young. I've never been out of shape, but I've never been this physically defined in my life. After graduating college, I went into grad school where I stayed in a single apartment on campus. I leave a key at my parents' in case I ever lose or forget mine. One evening I'm taking a nap and hear someone coming in my apartment. By the time I open my eyes and get myself together, Erin is already sitting on my bed. I'm thrilling to see her. It's been nearly 2 years at this point since we've physically seen each other. She crawls over, hugs me, and that's when I realize things kinda went different. She leans in, and instead of the normal, "Hey, what's up and how's life?" kisses me on the lips. I'm blown away, shocked and beyond happy. Kisses lead to touching and touching leads to sex. When we finish, she tells me I better get used to her because she's attending the same graduate school. She says she wants to more of this, and mind you, at the time I was still on cloud 9. So of course I says sure without thinking. That was nearly 3 months ago, and now she comes over. Some days we talk like best friends, and other days it's just a lot of sex. My emotions are all over the place as if it wasn't bad, as her best friend being FWB is really a challenge for me. To my knowledge, she has no boyfriend, no love interest or anything like that, but whenever I bring up dating or anything serious, I'm met with sexy time and an open-ended, "we'll talk about it later," or "let's just have some fun together and think about it later." Should I just be patient? Our friendship dynamic has changed. I'm aroused just by the thought of being alone with her now. We're hiding things from our parents, friends, and while I feel like I'm falling for her more and more, I haven't any clue as to what she's thinking. TLDR. My best friend of 16 years who has never shown interest in me shows up at my college apartment one day and randomly has sex with me. She's been coming over pretty much every other day since the semester started. I've liked her for years, but she won't give a definitive reason as to what this means or where it's going, and it scares me. Why do I feel so much regret despite being so happy? Is this wrong to have this type of relationship with her given how I feel about her? Obviously, the sexy time with her is a dream come true for me. She is a gorgeous girl, and friends, family, all throughout school have always joked about us dating or hooking up. I don't know if I can ever go back to seeing her as just a best friend, without the benefits, and the fact that I don't know if that's the same for her scares me. Am I overthinking this? Should I just enjoy it while it lasts? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'll probably get downvoted, and I'm pretty new at this, but I think you should just write it out and embrace your feelings to the fullest. It might have been selfish for her engage in a relationship with you like that, knowing your prior feelings about her. But the bottom line, I feel like, is that you can't end it. If you could end it, then you wouldn't have needed a post seeking advice on it. You feel strongly about it, and while it sucks, there is always a maybe. Also, I feel like if you two were genuinely best friend for majority of your lives, then she wouldn't just discard your feelings and use you like that. I think she would have straight up just told you no if she wasn't considering you. Maybe the timing isn't right, or maybe it's something with her she is trying to sort out. Either way, I feel like you end up with her and you guys actually become a couple, or you or her ends it, and your friendship falls apart. Which even worse since you're friends for so long and your families are friends. If you have the willpower to end it, then cut your losses short and do it. However, I think you already know you can't end it. Saying no to someone you've been admiring for a while isn't easy, as most of these comments say. I'm going through something similar myself. Reply. Honestly, I didn't want to admit it, but I don't think I have the power to end this. And you bring up good points about if she didn't want me, she would have just straight up said no. I doubt anyone will understand, but when I see and I'm with her, there is nothing I wouldn't do for her. I think I'm just going to have to go with the only logical and possible choice, which is to ride it out and try to learn more about her. Saying I could end it at any point would only be me lying to myself. Maybe she did come out of a bad relationship or has some commitment issues, but I'm going to try to work with her through whatever it is. Commenter 2. Enjoy it while it lasts, because it'll abruptly end at some point. Don't get emotionally attached, and if you are, end the FWB for your own sake. Reply. I'm about 3 miles past the don't get attached part. All I can really do is enjoy it while it lasts and see where it goes. We've been friends for this long and we've always been there when we needed each other. So here's to hoping there is another reason she hasn't given me an answer. Commenter 3. The only thing I would worry is if there is a fallout and you two are not on the same page about things. A 16-year-old friendship is a lot to lose and emotions can run high in things like this. Just be careful. Looking at it from a third party, this can't end well, but you have more information than we do. Reply, yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from. Like one of the other commenters said though, I've liked this girl for more than half of my life. I vividly remember daydreaming about sleeping with her back in high school. Even prom I didn't manage to. I can't turn off my feeling for her, and even ending it beforehand won't bring about the closure I'm seeking. I think if anything is probably regret it. Regret not biding my time to see where we could have went. I don't want to sound corny or helpless, but what I'm doing with this girl undoubtedly makes me more happy than I've ever been. The way I see it in black and white is either we end up together and live happily ever after some time down the road, or she leaves me for someone else, in which case our friendship ends anyways for an extremely long time. That's just how trying to date a best friend in my eyes has always gone. Make it something better, or watch years of friendship crumble to a million pieces. The only information I left out is that she doesn't want to talk about the 2 years we weren't connected, which leads me to think that something happened. I don't know if it's a bad breakup, a horrible experience, or what really caused such a change. Hopefully I can find out. Update. My best friend, 22F of 16 years, who has never shown interest in me, surprises me 22M at my graduate school apartment and seduces me into a friends with benefits relationship. TLDR, my best friend of 16 years who has never shown interest in me shows up at my college apartment one day and randomly has sex with me. She's been coming over pretty much every other day since the semester started. I've liked her for years, but she won't give a definitive reason as to what this means or where it's going, and it scares me. Despite most people, including many of my closest friends, telling me to just end things with her or force her into a decision, I decided to just ride it out, accepting that I'd probably get tossed to the side when someone better came around for her. We went on to be FWB for about 4 months, and those were honestly the most nerve-wracking months of my life, never knowing when or if it was going to end, or what she was really thinking. I tried my best to play it off as if it didn't bother me, but really it was a bittersweet time for me. After our school semester ended, we drifted apart a little bit. We both were spending time with family and friends. We both had extremely busy semesters and spent most of the time studying or with one another, so it was expected. She ended up going on vacation with her parents to visit her grandparents in England. She did invite me to come along months ago, but I already had other obligations, so I couldn't go with her despite wanting to. We did talk on the phone a few times while she was away. I actually had annual soccer tournament with my traveling team, and we met this all-girls team at the tournament that I was telling her about it since she plays soccer as well. She seemed happy for me that I was having fun, but I could tell that it was bothering her. I just chalked it up to maybe I sounded like I was bragging or something. 2 weeks later, she asks me if I can pick her up from the airport, because she flew back early and she nearly knocks me over. She hugs me so tightly. She never shown so much intimacy in public before she even tells me that she really missed me. It's like 8 p.m. and we go to Starbucks. She's being like really different, a lot quieter than normal, and she seems a little nervous around me, like she wants to say something. Eventually, she confesses that she realizes that she does like me as more than just a friend, and she apologizes for her unfairness making me wait so long before giving me an answer. She tells me that before she left she didn't really know what she wanted. She didn't know if she wanted a relationship or if she was ready to be in one. She said that she was afraid to get into a relationship with me only to realize that she didn't want it, and feared that our friendship would be never bounce back. She told me that she experienced a lot of things in England, and was sad that she wasn't able to experience them together. She talked to her older sister who lives in England, who really put in some good words for me. So we're officially dating, and everything has been awesome. Couldn't be happier. Sorry if this update is a bit lacking. I tried to summarize 3 weeks worth into this post without making it a novel. But if you have any questions about anything, just let me know. Thanks for the advice on the original post, really gave me some solid perspective. TLDR, we're finally dating and everything is great. I guess it pays to be patient sometimes. We'll be celebrating our first month on the 1st of July. Comments. I think it's about the same, honestly, barring the first day or two she came back from England. But I think that had a lot more to do with how emotional it was and being apart for 2 weeks more than the becoming official part. For both of us, I think there was like a large realization, like, OMG, you're all mine. While I'll admit there was a bit of thrill every time I'd stay at her place or vice versa to not get caught in the act. Essentially, since we both still live at home with our parents, it's still the same. Let's not get caught in the act thing. I prefer it now because I think we kiss a lot more, and it's a different type of passion about it. I think it's more about like closeness and togetherness, that rather than being driven by lust and horniness like rabbits. The rabbit style still comes out occasionally, but I think overall it's about the same. I wouldn't say FWB sex is better than couple sex, but then again, we've been a couple for less than a month, so take it with a grain of salt. Honestly, I think waiting it out was the only realistic option I had anyways. I couldn't see myself ending our friends with benefits relationship with her because I was always a bit spineless when it came to Erin, especially during the semester when spending time with her was pretty much the highlight of my day. Could have ended up painful, but I'm grateful and counting my lucky stars that it didn't. I don't have the fear of losing her, but I often find myself trying to spoil her. She usually goes something like, "You can't always give me everything." Or sometimes more subtly, she'll make a joke about wanting something outrageous so I can learn to say no. Our communication has picked up considerably. I think we both thought we knew a lot about each other being best friends for so long. But there is a lot that we are both surprisingly still learning about one and another, and it's great. We've bumped heads a couple times in a good way, and it's always been a positive outcome. I don't think that'll be the case. I mean, our communication has improved drastically since becoming a couple. And things are slowly starting to even itself back out in terms of power in our relationship. She did avoid the conversation about being a couple during the time that we were strictly FWBs. But I don't think it's a fair indicator that she'll do that for other problems. We've had a few minor issues come up and we discussed them like a normal couple would. And there was no like stonewalling. Is that the right term? Or anything like that. I understand now why she didn't want to talk about getting into a relationship with me and not wanting to lay out exactly what she was thinking. It would have been an inappropriate conversation that likely would have ended up altering our friendship and not solving anything. Our families both took it really well. Her dad was expecting it, and wasn't surprised in the least. He had been expecting it for a long time. He said he had his suspicions, and even bet his wife that we would end up together before the end of the year. My dad made a joke last weekend when we had a cookout when we showed up a bit late. I was getting worried my son didn't have any balls. He was joking, of course, but I ended up being the butt end of many jokes that day. Our moms keep telling us that we were just the cutest thing they had ever seen. I think overall everyone is happy for us. We both have younger siblings. My brother is 11 and her sister is 12, and they were so confused because they didn't see our rings. They were mistaking dating for marriage. I was trying to keep lower expectations, and being realistic, it had been 3 months of friends with benefits with absolute indecision about where it was going. Of course I was going to be willing to let it happen. Either I waited patiently and let her decide, or I force an answer out of her and risk ruining a friendship. I was hoping for the best, but prepared for the worst. Not saying it's a healthy stance or way to handle things, but really I didn't see any other options. Stories number 7. ATA for refusing to apologize to my dad's wife because she felt let down. I didn't make a grand gesture of embracing accepting her at their wedding. My mom died when I 21F was 12, and Dad met his wife when I was 15, and he married her when I was 16. Not gonna lie, the day was kinda hard for me. It wasn't easy seeing my dad marry someone who wasn't my mom. But I loved him, so I made sure to smile and keep the sadness away from the day where I could. Still, my dad knew, and he didn't push me to be more involved than I was. The wedding was small and more low-key anyway, so there was nothing huge for me to do. Until a couple of weeks ago, everyone thought the day had been a success for my dad and his wife. But during a celebration to remember Mom, Dad's wife brought up a grudge she held against me for not making more of a grand gesture of embracing, accepting her as my family, and a mother figure at the wedding. Apparently, she thought I had something planned for the day that would make her feel welcome and wanted by me and like she was loved. She had convinced herself it would happen, and was let down it hadn't. But she felt even worse when I didn't say anything about it after their wedding. She first brought it up as a throwaway comment about grand gestures not being my thing for others when I made something for Mom's grave. Dad asked what she meant, but she was like, "Oh, nothing." She said nothing and I was confused by it too, but we moved on. Then when we were having dinner, those of us who knew Mom said something about her, and I told Mom I'd always love her and miss her, and I wish she was here and could see me be the woman I am. Then Dad's wife made a more direct comment that clearly I can express my love easily enough. Dad asked what she was doing, and then she said what she had expected for the wedding, and she was like, clearly Kez didn't love me when we got married because she didn't make a point of expressing or showing acceptance of me at the wedding. Then she said she had expected some kind of grand gesture of acceptance and love because she was becoming my new mother figure, and had thought I'd be glad to have someone else for the girl stuff. Dad asked her where all this came from, and she admitted she held it against me since the wedding. When it was just me and her, she told me I could apologize, and it would start to make up for it. But I told her there should have been zero expectation for me to do anything like that, and I wasn't apologizing for something I never agreed or even suggested I'd do. Then she was like, "So you still don't love me?" And I grew frustrated and told her she had way too high expectations for what I'd do for her. And I pointed out I had known her for months when she married my dad. Her grudge has now grown because I didn't do the grand gesture, and I didn't apologize years after. She said I'm disrespecting her and Dad's marriage. Comments, Commenter 1. NTA? First and foremost, the thing she has to learn: you are not obligated to love her. Your father married her, not you. She can pout and whine, but you have nothing to apologize for. Especially something that happened when you were 16. You don't have to love her. You don't have to view her as a mother figure. The only thing you have to acknowledge is that your father married her. So whether you actually do or not, you are not obligated to love her. Secondly, this is for your father to handle, not you. A grown woman throwing a tantrum because she didn't get an extra special gift from a child is their problem, not yours. It sounds like you have been civil to her at the very least, and that's enough. You are always allowed to express the love you have for your mother, and anyone who tries to make that about themselves is out of line. If you had been cruel to her, if you had called her names or disrespected her, sure, she'd have a point, but she needs to learn that as a step-parent. The only person obligated to love her is her husband. Commenter 2. Your dad's wife is out of order. Hold a grudge because a teenager that lost her mom didn't give her a grand gesture. Is she a narcissist or simply delulu? As long as you were not disrespectful or rude all this time, there is nothing to apologize. NTA reply: very high expectations from what I can tell. The whole mother figure thing too, because I never said she was one to me. I don't think my dad ever has either. But she assumed I'd look at her as one. I've been polite and friendly with her. I wouldn't say she's my favorite person, but I made the effort to have a good relationship. Commenter 3. It is bad enough that this grown-ass woman is holding a grudge against someone for something they did when they were 16. But she literally hijacked a memorial for your mother to make it about herself and her petty grudge. Tell her you have a grand gesture for her. Give her the middle finger and tell her to piss off. NTA. Commenter 4. She did this on a day that you were using to remember your mom? I would tell your dad to keep his wife in check or they can stay TF home. Like what? Reply: she did. We got together with a bunch of Mom's family and some friends to celebrate Mom, and then she just wouldn't shut up about what I failed to do for her. Stories number 8. My company moved me to 5 countries in 12 months. Got me deported, and is angry I want to quit. I started my current job knowing I would be based abroad in Morocco. However, there were visa issues, and I ended up spending the first year across 5 different countries. Each time not knowing the end date for my stationing, the company does not help with housing. I did eventually get settled in Morocco, however. My company had me go there on a particular type of visa, which we all knew was only borderline appropriate for my work. And I ended up getting deported because of it. This company is set up like the big consulting firms. Suck up people with high grades right out of college for 2 years. They're clearly serious about the 2-year commitment, and have stuck by me through all the visa trouble. When I called to say I was getting deported, they immediately bought me tickets to my home country. So at this point, I've spent more than a year trying to make the specific job offer I got a reality. And it's clear I won't be able to, and it's been so miserable. I've explained that I'm pretty tired of last-minute relocations to cities where I don't know anyone. And I floated that I might want to find a job that would just let me stay in my home country. Now that I'm back here anyway, I was told that would be considered a very serious violation of the organization's trust, and I should avoid damaging my reputation like that. That sounds bonkers to me. I understand it's been an inconvenient period for them too, but in addition to my 5 intercontinental relocations, there have been just as many planned but scrapped at the last minute. The whole thing strikes me as pretty unreasonable, no? Meanwhile, I've been collecting bits of info from friendly acquaintances who also left this company before their 2 years were up, and I'm bracing myself for a wild exit interview, they were told. This would be a terrible mistake for your career. Are you the kind of person who keeps their word, or just greedy? Why would you leave now? You wanted projects. We're getting projects. They were not getting projects. I'm hearing of pretty consistent references to abandoning one's service and disappointment in character and, naturally, a refusal to consider they might not have created an ideal working situation. Sounds fun, update. Things worked out fine after I got kicked out of the country I was working in January. The company wasn't particularly helpful, but at that point I didn't expect much of anything from them. They got me a ticket back to a city where I worked years before, so I had friends and old colleagues who made sure I had an easy adjustment. The company is known, really, has only increased its reputation in the last year, for being super vindictive if you leave before 2 years. And the team I was working with was very clear that they at least needed me to stick around for a few months. So I did, working from the other side of the world. It was not great. My hours were weird in order to take calls, and my work suffered for being isolated. But after finishing that project in the spring, they let me spend a few months drawing a regular paycheck. They only missed payroll for me once, but I'm told it's a more widespread problem, doing short tasks for them, and putting most of my energy toward job hunting. I ended up getting a job in a new city I like a lot, doing similar, interesting work right after the 2-year contract ended. So I left on good terms, about 6 months after I got deported. After I got a new job, they shipped my stuff back to me, well, most of it. Some of it my roommates lost or kept, whatever. I've refrained from writing a Glassdoor review yet, but I did have a cathartic exit interview. I got to say my piece, but the interviewer did part of it for me, opening by saying the org had put me through a nightmare, which I appreciated. Everyone senior at the org just kind of brushed the deportation off, so I was glad someone at least got that it mattered. Stories number 9. So my wife's going to a gala tonight, as her client's date. I'm 44 and my wife is 44. She works on an art advisory committee, so attending galas, events, and client meetings is part of her job. She often meets clients for coffee, lunch, or dinner. And I don't always know the details, and that's completely normal because it's part of her work. She's always professional, transparent about her friendships, and I trust her judgment completely recently. She mentioned she's going to a gala with a friend. He's a wealthy client she met about a year ago, and they became friends professionally. She introduced me to him once, and he seems like a genuinely good person. He invited her as his date to this gala, and my wife said it's fine. I did ask her, though, if she's actually going as a date, and she just laughed and said, "Date doesn't always mean romantic," she said. It's important for her she could get networking and meet new people. Then she smiled and said, "If I get into this gala next time, I won't need to take that man with me. I'll take you instead." While laughing, She's been getting ready since morning, picking her dress. Hair, makeup, the whole thing, and man, I don't know why, but I've never felt this uneasy about her going out before. I'm jealous, but I don't want to ruin her opportunity either. Still, it feels strange, like handing your wife to another man's arm in front of everyone, even if it's purely professional. I'm not saying she'd ever cheat, I trust her, but that thought lingers. So yeah, tonight I'm just going to cope hard. Not sure how I'll sit here at home while she's out there shining under the chandeliers. But I guess that's part of loving someone ambitious. She said she'll share her live location, text me during breaks, and not visit any private place or his hotel after. She'll be back around midnight. Maybe later. Sometimes she comes back to home in the early morning after event. I'm not insecure. My wife would kill me if I went on a date night with another woman. I could pick one of my friends or even another woman to go out with. But I don't, out of respect for our marriage and love for my wife. It's always about the choices you make and the sacrifices you accept. I didn't stop her because I respect her and her opportunity update. She left home a few hours back. His driver picked her. She was looking happy. Just some minutes back she posted story. She reached the gala and she is safe. And I'm going to my buddy's place. Comments, commenter 1, you must not be married. Much less to a professional person. That's a man who is confident in his relationship and masculinity to not forbid her to go. Like she said, a date isn't always romantic. Besides, it's the art community. Nobody would bat an eye to a poly relationship in 2025. Edit. Holy smokes, this is crazy, the amount of replies I just came home to. This must have really struck a nerve. I make a comment at 6 a.m. and head out with my 3 small kids and find the craziest comments in my inbox. The person who expressed concern to Reddit cares. I'm totally okay, thanks. I'm in probably the most stereotypical relationship. I stay home with my 3 small kids, and my husband works out of the home for the city. This Saturday morning I was alone doing kid and home duties like every morning because my husband had a work event this morning and had to leave before the kids woke. His team met with the mayor and some other city government representatives at a nice breakfast place. I had 2 screaming toddlers, twins and their sister at swim lessons. Embarrassing, but we got through it. Am I resentful towards my husband? Absolutely not. He has a government job and sometimes has responsibilities outside of his regular job that can be pretty cool. Neckbeards and toxic men are so pissed about this because she's a woman, and those men are the reason why we have this shitty patriarch in the US. You'll never experience a respectable relationship like this, because you think all women are guilty slits. This wasn't some indecent proposal thing. He's in his feels BC, his wife is out being fabulous with a work friend and not him. Maybe she'll land some great connection and get some great work projects out of this engagement. If she wasn't a woman, she wouldn't have to network so hard. Who makes more money in this country? I'll give you a hint. It isn't women. Just Reddit being Reddit, I guess. Someone said, I'm so insecure, so you must be too. So much this. Edit 2. Some seem to be focused on the part of my comment about not caring if people thought Op was poly or not. Because I can read, I know that he is not and doesn't want to appear that way. But the optics wouldn't be weird in her work setting. That's all I meant. The main focus of my initial comment was that he's a very secure man who is confident in himself and his relationship. You know how I know? He didn't freak out like some suggested. He didn't show up at the event. He didn't change the locks while she was out. He didn't message her incessantly. He didn't file for divorce. He didn't give her the silent treatment. He vented on Reddit and got the typical response. I hope y'all will have a relationship like this someday. One where you can celebrate your spouse's successes without feeling inferior. Edit 3. I'm going to keep making edits because I can't possibly keep up with all these comments. I guess this is the Reddit hug of death they speak of. My phone has been buzzing all day. Thank you to those who have given me awards and gold. In my 12 years of being a low-key lurker who only engages in a few subreddits, I've never received this much recognition for my participation in a comment thread. So seriously, thank you. I'll try to read through all these comments when I can. But instead, please donate to your local ASPCA food pantry. The link on Miss Rachel's Insta to support the starving families in Gaza. Please don't spend your hard-earned money on Reddit owned by billionaires. ESP not in this economy. Edit 4. I know Ops said his wife would kill him if he went on a work date. I'm sure OP and his wife would agree that there's a big difference between OP meeting with 23-yo Jenna Hersu, who works in an HR office, versus meeting with 56-yo Lois, who is the head of HR, who could possibly float his resume to the top of a promotion list. Edit 5. This is my last edit. Y'all see that this was posted in our stories, right? Perhaps it's just that, a story, meant to promote engagement, rage, pitch, a short story. This absolutely could be true. It's been interesting getting this much attention. It's why we eloped rather than a huge wedding. I hate the attention. Some of the most offensive and funny chat requests, but oh well. Our babysitter is here, so we're going out to a football party with human friends. I suggest you do the same. It's the only way to overcome this crazy world, is to stay connected to those who bring out our best. Commenter 2. Dude, you sound very insecure and could be damaging what you already have by expressing so much unwarranted concern and having her jump through hoops like you describe. You're responding too much to the playful use of the word date. They're just attending the same professional function together, which could really benefit her work. Commenter 3. When she gets home, don't ask 1,500 questions and put the P in the V like the man that you are. Stories number 10. Aita for siding with my ex-brother-in-law over my sister and family. 7 years ago, my sister got married to one of my best and closest friends. He was a genuine good guy, and I was happy for my sister for being with such a good man. 2 years ago, he caught her cheating with a different man in their bed. It absolutely destroyed him, and she came at him hard in the divorce. I was disgusted by her and by my entire family for supporting her. She ended up taking the house and most of his money, and she moved in her affair partner before the divorce was even finalized. I helped him out, and even let him stay with me and my wife for a couple of months to rest, and to save some money before going straight into renting, after basically being robbed. I told him in no way, I'm with my sister and family, and he said he knows, and that he still loves me like a brother. That absolutely angered my entire family, and they all cut me off. Now many months later they're back because apparently my sister is getting married to her affair partner, and they want me back. But first I have to apologize to her partner and my family for siding with my brother-in-law. I laughed in their face and turned them down. Now they're all back, and they would not let this go. They're really big on public image, and them having a wedding without me, there would be a disgrace. Like my sister marrying her affair partner who she cheated with on her husband isn't disgraceful enough. I want nothing to do with them or this wedding. My wife says I should just pretend to forgive them and go to this wedding because our kids would be sad to miss out, and that they can't be away from their grandparents forever. I disagree, and I think they don't need disgusting people like that in their lives, but she just would not drop this. What should I do here? Comments. Commenter 1. You do what you think is best. They were quick to turn you into a bad guy and abandon you when you stood up for your friend who was cheated on by your sister. If you still feel that way, go with your gut. Family does not surpass morality. Commenter 2. She wants you to apologize to her AP? Yeah, that's a no. Or do what your wife says. Make peace, go to the wedding, then nuke them for being cheaters. I didn't really want to come to this wedding because they're cheaters, but family, right? Reply, that's actually a pretty good idea, NGL. Give a toast and destroy them at their wedding. Commenter 3. Bring him as your +1 to the wedding. Get even more messier, and just two bros have a good time. Commenter 4. NTA, your entire family is including your wife are though. She can take the kids if she wants to go so bad. Stand your ground. Tell your family only if she apologizes for being the town trollop first. Stories number 11. Aita for insisting we go back immediately to get my wife's wedding ring from her mom's house. So yesterday, my wife, let's call her Ruby, 21F, went to visit her mom like she usually does on weekends. I 22 men work weekends outside the house, but weekdays I'm remote, and her mom works Monday, Friday. So it's the only time they really get to see each other. No issue there. Ruby's currently on maternity leave, and our baby is due next week. So I totally get that she wants to spend time with her mom while she still can. Here's where things went off. Ruby came home in a taxi and told me she accidentally left her wedding ring at her mom's place. She took it off because it was hot and her fingers were swollen. Pregnancy stuff. I didn't get angry or anything, just asked where she left it and said, "Let's go back and grab it." I offered to drive us. Since I didn't want to wait, That's when it started getting tense. She tried explaining over the phone that her mom would keep it safe and we could pick it up tomorrow. I heard her out, but I wasn't comfortable with waiting. I was polite, calm, didn't insult anyone. But I insisted we go get it now. I even said I could go alone after helping her go upstairs. But she didn't want that either. By the time she got home, I was already waiting in the car. She got out of the taxi, clearly upset, and pushed me away when I tried to help her with her bag. She gave me the silent treatment while calling her mom to say we were coming back for the ring. Then she finally asked, "Why are you doing this? Why can't trust her?" And that's where I lost my cool a little, not yelling or anything. But I stopped sugarcoating. I told her the truth. No, I don't trust her mom. She knows why. Her mom once lost our engagement ring during a rough patch, and it magically showed up months later. This same thing happened with many other sentimental items I gave her, and some of them did not ever appear back. Ruby insists it was just a mistake, but to me, there is not a reason to blindly trust Mill. That wasn't the only thing either. Her mom has insulted me, made racist comments about my background, hit me once when I showed up at their place after dark at their doorstep, and has never apologized for any of it. I listed those things out, not to throw them in her face, but because Ruby kept asking why. I asked her why does her mom gets all this grace for doing things she just wished me death. Yesterday, just because Ruby was feeling sick while I was picking up her meds, but I can't even state the facts without her getting upset. She cried. I comforted her, apologized for being harsh, and made it clear that I wasn't trying to attack her or her mom. I was just being honest. I told her I don't believe her mom would purposely throw away the ring, but based on history, I wasn't willing to risk it getting misplaced again. If I ever wanted to test whether things had improved, it wouldn't be with something as personal as our wedding ring. We went back. Her mom gave me the usual cold stare, but at this point, I don't care anymore. Later, Ruby and I talked. She said she understood and she forgave me, but she still felt hurt about the way it all went down. I didn't yell. I didn't insult anyone. I just acted quickly, maybe too quickly, and didn't give her time to process it. I agreed and apologized for that part. But I still feel down about all this as well. In my defense, I just panicked a bit. I value that ring a lot, and when something feels urgent, I move. Ruby's actually thanked me for being that way in past situations. But after seeing my wife still so sad about this, I'm wondering if I should have just let it go. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I did the right thing, but maybe in the wrong way. How do I fix this? And Aita, quick update, next day 11 p.m. baby is born. He was completely safe and sound. My wife and son are sleeping right now. I'm checking on baby so Ruby can get some sleep. She did great and apologized for everything. She said she was just nervous about today and wanted all of us to be okay, so there wouldn't be any drama at the hospital. Spoiler, there wasn't. I know the woman I chose to spend my life with, and she's a great person. She cares about her mom as much as she cares about me, but she did admit she overreacted and wanted to support me more. I know this isn't the end of the story. We already started thinking about some boundaries to make, and this is just the start of our lives together. So hopefully when I come back with updates, it will be good news. Good night, guys. I'll do my best to stay up, and thanks for all the advice, even the sharp comments. I read all and every comment, and you gave me grounds and confidence to set some boundaries and communicate better with my wife. Good night to everyone. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Your wife is due next week, dude. It doesn't seem like you thought about how she's feeling physically or emotionally. It's just a ring, and it could have waited. But more importantly, you should have listened to and respected your wife's wishes. She wasn't worried about it, but you couldn't let it go and stressed her out about it. Seriously, man, waiting in the car. It was all about you and what you wanted. Even now you don't seem to acknowledge or realize that. Completely self-absorbed and oblivious to your wife's feelings and well-being. Reply. Yeah, you're right, I still don't realize the big deal about driving 10 minutes back to her mom's house. It's not like I didn't give her any options. If she was tired, she could have waited at home. But I'm not trusting Mill, and she already knew this. Commenter 2, NTA. Your Emil is a pain, but the problem is your wife is allowing her to continuously disrespect you. You need to have a serious sit-down conversation about how she's mistreated you and what you expect your wife to do about it. It's not being harsh, it's setting boundaries and asking her to put your family first, you, her, and new baby. The situation will only get worse when baby comes because Emil will be around even more and influencing your child. Just one item in the list you shared about how Mil has mistreated you is grounds for NCLC. Your wife needs to be an adult and stop running to her mommy for every little thing. Reply, I've tried to talk to her about this. Sadly, Mil is the only close family left for her, and she's always too defensive about their relationship. Abuse and control are also some factors in their relationship, so I don't expect her to heal overnight, but all I ask is for some respect and the same grace she gives to Mael about her fuck-ups. OP needs to get his wife in therapy. Reply, we are in therapy. It is just her mother's topic that is hard to bring up. I know she tries her best, but I also know these things take time. Commenter 3, why is retrieving a ring a two-person job? And honestly, I'm confused about the taxi too. You got home before her. Why not pick her up instead of her taking a taxi, since driving to her mom's evidently wasn't unreasonable? Why did the mom give you attitude when you returned? How did she know what went down? Reply, I did not know when she was coming back. I wanted to give her time with her mom more now that she won't be going there that often anymore after the baby is born. So she just said they will call a taxi once they were done, and I could sleep. I haven't slept much since I was doubling at work to be okay financially to take a couple days off to be with her at the recovery. And her mom knew because my wife told her over the call that I wanted to go back. And because my wife was crying and Meal could tell by looking at her eyes. Commenter 4, I'm very concerned for your baby. Your MIL is violent and racist. Your wife does not defend you. I have seen plenty of posts where a child is born, and the grandparent is also racist towards the child. The child's parent of the racist IL still doesn't stand up for their kid. You should not allow this. Your wife is disrespecting you. She could have told you she was tired, but she would tell her mom just you were coming to pick it up. When she called her mom, she could have made it sound as if it was her, who wanted you to pick up the ring. Instead, she was just mad and acted like you were a problem. ESH, you didn't suggest going on your own for the ring? You are okay with how your wife disrespects you by allowing her mother to be violent, disrespectful and racist towards. Your wife is rude and doesn't respect you? Your Emil is an AH for obvious reasons, but you have a wife problem, not a male problem. Protect your baby from your wife and Mile. Even if it means divorcing your wife, also protect yourself from this update. Aita for insisting we go back immediately to get my wife's wedding ring from her mom's house. Hey everyone, it's been about 3 months since the original post. You can find it on my profile, and I figured I owed you all an update. Baby first, because that's the best part. Our little guy is 3 months old now and thriving. He was a chunky newborn, and he's only getting bigger. He hit 16 lbs in 2-1, right before his 2-month checkup. Healthy, happy, and smiling more every day. The MIL situation, well, it's been a ride. Some ups, plenty of downs. But I've learned to manage it so I don't lose my mind. Lol. A lot of you suspected she was pawning stuff and... Yep, you nailed it. My SCL-18F recently asked my wife Ruby for money to cover payments on their mom's pawned jewelry. We ended up lending them about 2 kilos so they could just recover their stuff altogether. It's been a month. No repayment yet. Somehow they're always struggling, even with low rent, 1K, and food stamps. But that's another story. I've tagged along for a few lunches at MIL's since Ruby has started seeing through more of her mom's BS and doesn't like being alone there anymore. Funny thing, even though we invite her to our place whenever she wants, she refuses because she doesn't feel comfortable. I've offered to leave the house or stay in our room so they can have privacy, but nope. If it's not on her terms, it's nothing. So gladly for me, visits are way less often, as I'm back at work already, and until my wife feels comfortable again, I should be there with them. The worst part is the verbal stuff. Meal never says it when I'm around, but when she's mad she yells at Ruby and throws out nasty comments about me or even our baby. She said things like, our son will grow up to hit Ruby, or that bad things will happen to her because of how she treats Emil. It's gross. Ruby's been doing therapy, and we agreed our son doesn't need to grow up hearing that. She explained the best she could to Miel that visits stop when she acts like that as a baby doesn't need to be hearing all that stuff, neither does she. Her response, he must be used to it already. I've behaved this way since he was in your belly. So, yeah, I wasn't taken aback. I see MIL by her true colors, but Ruby got very disappointed that day, so reality check passed. After one particularly bad yelling match, just days after we loaned them the 2K, we went low contact for a couple of weeks. Eventually MIL showed up at our door with some of Ruby's old stuff she found, plushies, and such, in what felt like a big victim performance of how much she had to walk. We live 15 minutes away walking, or she could have taken the bus, but okay, no real apology. But Ruby says she kind of half apologized later, so they're talking again. As for childcare plans, because Ruby's going back to work soon, Miel had offered free babysitting, but that's off the table. She's joked about spanking our son to correct him. He wasn't even 2 months old when she said that, and suggested giving him water in the summer. Whether that's ignorance Ruby's take or something darker my take, it's a hard no. We're hiring a sitter, actually my mom, who does this professionally and will pay her. Because our kid deserves patience and love, not someone with random anger blow-ups. So for now MIL still sees the baby, but only supervised. Any more screaming and visits stop again. I doubt she'll ever change. Therapy is for crazy people, according to her. So we're just keeping contact as low as Ruby will allow. I'll save my venting for Reddit and my therapist. That's pretty much it. Thanks to everyone who gave advice last time. My mom, she studied psychology, and a couple friends think MIL might have bipolar or borderline personality disorder. But she'll never get a diagnosis, because she won't set foot in therapy, so whatever. For now the plan is just healthy baby, happy home, and minimal MIL. Relevant comments. Why does Ruby still wants to have a relationship with her mother? Reply. Besides her sister, she's her only bio family. She only wants a healthy relationship with her mom, and refuses to go NC because she is afraid Emil would die with them hating each other. Like it happened with her dad when she was little. Commenter 1. Just keep reminding her that you and your son are her main family now, and she has to put you guys first before the rest of her family. Reply. Yeah. She's very aware of that. She's even excited to move away now that we are planning on buying a house outside the city, which I never thought she would like because of her mom. We already agreed that if things don't get better, then she can visit her mom. But without our son. Commenter 2. Please, don't give her any more money to bail her out. And make it clear that this was a one-time thing. Otherwise, she's just going to keep raking up loans A&D expecting you to pay them off. Or tell her you won't lend to her again until she pays off the first loan. She is never going to pay that money back. Reply. Yeah, if she never pays us back, that's my definitive "I told you so" to cut any support from our side. They were already told we are not helping them any longer until they pay us back. Commenter 3. I feel bad for Ruby, but I'm glad that she's seeing her mom for what she is. A racist, and I'm glad that you two are setting firm boundaries. You are doing a good job protecting your family, and I hope you all continue to thrive. Commenter 4. Neither of you are doing your son any favors by bringing him around this woman. He's going to grow up hearing the vile things his grandmother says about him and his father, and why. What on earth does your wife get from being around someone who steals from her and says hateful things and is a racist? Stories number 12. Tifu got denied at airport for a trip we planned for holiday. My wife has a long-time wish to visit Jeju Island in Korea. Told me several times but postponed always as I did not have off time from work. Finally, we have decided to plan a trip for 5 days starting today, Saturday. Tickets have been bought. Hotels has been booked. All good. We do not live in Korea, so it will be a trip abroad. And for the context, my wife and I holding different passports. Visiting Korea is visa-free to me up to 90 days. At least on paper, while it requires load of document from her. But if you visit only Jeju Island, is visa-free to her too. She told me she needs to fill an online arrival card 3 days prior and all will be done. I checked for myself very thoroughly, as I knew I do not need visa. And after a Google search and doing a skim reading our consulate paper there, okay, still visa-free and need to fill an online form 3 days prior. So we arrived airport 3 a.m. in the morning, 2.5 hour prior to flight, went straight up checking. Wait about 20 minutes in the queue. When it is our turn, they quickly gave boarding card to my wife, but mine stalled there. They called several people, And those people asked me KETA online application. I thought it is the e-arrival card that we have filled. But no. It is something you need to do if you are from a visa-free country. So they normally requires visa from her. Difficult to get. But if only go that island, it is visa-free. On the other hand, they do not require visa from me to visit at all Korea. Wherever I want to visit there. But even visit this island, I need to complete an entry application. Like e-visa shit. I thought if it is visa-free, it should be free to enter with passport. We left the counter, sit on the floor. I switch on my laptop. Did this application in like 10 minutes, paid $10, and what? Result page says, your application status is under assessment. Airline officer told me, it is likely to be approved next day, not now. So everything gone to garbage. I suggested my wife to take the flight by herself, and next day I will join if can get this paper. She said no. Unbelievable that we had to return home. I felt so ashamed. We have arrived back home. Just get back on my laptop to check this detailed. And see what? My application is approved already, so it cost me $1K. And shit tension with my wife. I still can't understand how could I did not bother to go details about requirements when I got tickets. TLDR, I have not checked correctly visa requirements prior to flight, therefore denied at airport. My wife had to cancel her travel plans. Comments, commenter 1. Those e-travel authorization things get approved ridiculously quickly in like 95% of cases. It's always worth waiting around to see if it comes through and you can still get on your flight. Or even the next flight out. Going home right away was the real Tifu here. Commenter 2, you didn't do online check-in? When I took JetBlue a few months ago to go to Jamaica, when I did my online check-in, they said I had to fill out Jamaica's customs form online prior to the flight and provided the link. Surprised an airline wouldn't do that for Korea as well. Commenter 3, just get new tickets. I promise it's worth saving the years of hatred from your wife. Commenter 4, I'm not sure why the airline officer told you that it would be approved the next day. It's quite quick. Doesn't even take 10 minutes. Happened to me last time. I went to Korea with my mom, but I entered my passport number on the KTA incorrectly by 1 number. And the flight attendants just had me redo it on my phone right then and there because it was an immediate approval. Reply, mine took more than an hour, since it was not approved instantly. I thought it is not a totally automatic system working 24-hour. Maybe it will wait until somebody review it in Korea. Stories number 13. My 25F boyfriend 26M serenaded his coworker. We've been together for 2 years, and we live together. We had people over for the 4th, and he invited some of his friends from work. One of the friends is a girl who is obviously very pretty, and everyone loves her because she's a fun person to be around. We all had a lot to drink, and my boyfriend and one of our friends were playing guitar, and I was sitting in the pool with some of the other people. My boyfriend starts playing this song, and I wish I remembered what it was. But it was basically about how hot this girl is, and how he wants to fuck her, but she's too high maintenance for him. And he was singing it right to his coworker and replaced whatever the name of the girl in the songs was with her name. He was like leaning over her and she was staring up at him, completely loving it. After it was done, my friends were like, holy shit, are you okay with that? But obviously I wasn't going to do anything right then. After we got out of the pool, my boyfriend and the girl and a couple other people got in. I looked over, and she was sitting on his shoulders with her legs wrapped around his neck. And I also saw her doing the thing that you would do with a kid, where you hold them on your lap and they push off your legs and you throw them. Hope that makes sense. Honestly, the whole night made me uncomfortable, and all of my friends were blown away by how they were blatantly flirting in front of me. I brought it up with him yesterday, and he said they're just friends and we're just having fun, and that I'm overreacting. I worry about how they are together at work, if that's how they behave in front of me. Does it sound wildly inappropriate to anyone else, or am I overreacting? They don't get together outside of work often, and when they do it's in a big group, so I don't want to ask him to stop seeing her, but is there some sort of compromise we could reach? It seemed like he was only a couple of beers away from cheating on me, TLDR. My boyfriend and his coworker seem to be way too flirty, but I don't know how to get it to stop. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. That is wildly inappropriate and hurtful of him. You need to discuss this in depth with him and communicate how you feel. If he does it again despite this, I would say it's grounds for ending it. Reply. I did tell him how much it bothers me and he completely dismissed it. I won't know if anything like that happens again because I'm not at work with them. Commenter 2. The fact that they dared to be so outright and physical right in front of you really makes me wonder how far they go when you're not around. Either way, his behavior was massively disrespectful, and he knows it. He just wants to pretend like it's nothing so he can keep doing it. If you stick around, you're showing him that his behavior is acceptable, and you're willing to be treated like that in front of your friends. Commenter 3, this is ridiculously inappropriate. I would end it right there, because you have no idea what's going on at work, and if he may be lying and they are going out alone and saying there's a big group. Reply, that's why I'm really worried. I have no clue what goes on at work, where they work. There is a lot of downtime between jobs where everyone just does whatever they want, so it makes me worry a lot. Commenter 4, yes, this is inappropriate. He does not get to tell you that you are overreacting. He does not have to approve your emotions. Is he always this dismissive? Reply, not really. I think he's only being dismissive because he knows he crossed a line. Commenter 5. Do you think he only learned it based on your reaction? Or do you think he's known he's been crossing lines for a while? Reply, I think he knew and just didn't care at all. Update, hi. Thank you all for your advice. What a stressful situation. Here's a quick update. After everything, I was really pissed all of last week and was sort of planning on breaking up with him. But I was taking my time making the decision because, well, breakups suck, and it wasn't something I was looking forward to. I mentioned in the comments of my last post that I own a house that has been sitting vacant since I moved in with my boyfriend, and it doesn't have a kitchen right now because I moved out in the middle of renovating it. I have a friend that owns a kitchen company, so I asked him to come out to the house to look at it and draw up plans. He told me he would do it at cost without charging for labor, and ever since I told my boyfriend that, he's like, what, are you fucking him? But how many blowjobs is it costing you? I work for the FD, so obviously I work with a lot of good-looking guys, and he's just been so jealous lately. Especially last week, trying to tell me who I can and can't talk to while at work. So, all that to say, it was definitely time for us to break up anyways. I just can't believe that he is giving me such a hard time but thinks him serenading this girl right in front of me was okay. I did look at a text he got that makes me think they were hooking up. I spent Thursday night out at a hotel with friends for a birthday, and came home in the morning. He had a text on his phone that said something like, OMG, no, I was sleeping. So I read through their conversation, which was conveniently deleted except for 2 messages, and he had texted her at 3 a.m. to see if she was awake. Maybe I'm reaching. But every time a guy has texted me that late, it's been to hook up. That sealed the deal for me, so I just left. It wasn't even worth fighting over because for a whole week now I've been pretty much done with him anyways. He didn't take it that well, which was surprising because it sure seemed like he wanted to break up. But whatever, it's done now. TLDR. I broke up with him. Final comments. Commenter 1. Usually that jealousy and lack of trust stems from a party knowing that you shouldn't trust them, so they assume that they can trust you. You can't talk to attractive coworkers, but he can serenade a woman in a pool, practically in front of your face. The details in your post were like icing on the cake. Who wouldn't be thrilled about you getting a new kitchen on the cheap? That blowjob comment, blah. Glad his character surfaced strong at the end and you got him out of the picture. Reply, that makes perfect sense. Commenter 2. I have no doubt in my mind that your boyfriend's serenading of his co-worker and their behavior that night was the subject of much gossip among your friends and their co-workers. I guarantee that all your friends, if they haven't told you in person yet, are rejoicing that you had the good sense to dump his ass after the way he humiliated you at your 4th of July party. And as for your ex and the co-worker, the respect of their colleagues for them has most certainly gone down a few notches as well. Reply, I hope they're getting judged for it. It was super messed up. Who does that? Literally all of our friends have taken my side because many of them saw what went down. So it's really great to have everyone's support. Makes everything a lot easier. Commenter 2. I'm having trouble getting over the tackiness of serenading a girl in front of you. Gotta hand it to him. He has guts. He's giving you a hard time because he wants the breakup to be your fault. Not him. He thinks it makes him look like less of an asshat in his tiny mind. Reply. It was so tacky. Him and his coworker were obviously having a blast, but almost everyone else was staring at me like WTF. Stories number 14. I get injured by a neighbor's dog on my own property. Get asked, why don't you mind your own business? And this is an HOA board member update. Partial response from City Animal Control. To answer your question, animal control officers deal with vicious dogs or animals we ourselves cannot handle. Due to the fact that the dog in question has not been biting people or attacking while he is out, there is nothing removed for Privacy County Animal Control can do in this situation. Backstory. My neighbor lets his dog off leash, which is a violation of both our city ordinance and our association. This neighbor is also on the board of said association. I've been scratched up twice on my own property by his dog. On my way to outings, almost 2 years apart during the in-between times, I started videoing their dog on my property and reporting to the HOA. No one seems to care on the board. No fines that I'm aware of, and the behavior continues, which results in feeling like I can't enjoy my own property without dealing with this crap. That neighbor then told me I was using Nazi techniques on him and that I should mind my own business. And that was before I was scratched up the second time on my own property. The first time I was scratched up, I was headed to a get-together with other neighbors, so they all saw my bleeding arm and heard the story. I've been told by one of those neighbors that the dog has been loose farther away in the neighborhood, and has concerned neighbors that the dog might be hit by a car over there. The other night I came home and the dog was off leash yet again after finally getting the police involved last month almost to the street. The owner was standing away from him and I was afraid the dog was going to run into the street. Given what the other neighbor had shared with me previously, I yelled at the neighbor about the dog being off leash and then parked in my own driveway. That neighbor then leashed his dog and came over to say, "Why don't you mind your own business?" Yet again, to which I replied, "It is my business if it's my property and I've been injured." He said, "No, it's not. And of course, it becomes my business if I have to worry about or actually hit an unleashed dog by no fault of my own." So, I told him I was going to get his response on video and started recording. I then repeated what I said on video and he then replied, "You're pathetic," and walked away. This neighbor is running for HOA board again. According to one of my neighbors, I'm tired of cowards who don't follow rules. Throw around words like Nazi, as if that isn't highly offensive given the ridiculous comparison and context of the Holocaust and other personal details I'd prefer not to share. And they do it because no one is around to hear it, and then still run for HOA board edit. Please stop suggesting shooting dogs unless it's a life-threatening situation. It's not an animal's fault to know property lines. Edit 2. A big thanks to everyone who has provided suggestions and support. It's been a rough go living in this neighborhood, so just being validated over this situation, and the general BS of living in an HOA neighborhood, has meant a lot to me. Comments. Commenter 1. Report to animal control, not the police. Reply. Totally agree about reporting after first scratch up. The dog just likes me. Is a big dog, and jumped up while I was holding items in my arms on my property, and I couldn't block the jump. The owners apologized after I emailed them, left a plant on my doorstep, said they'd address it going forward, and I figured mistakes happen. One thing I've definitely learned in life is 99% of the time that people don't change, unless they are held accountable the first time. This was the first time, with a scratch not captured higher up as well. Commenter 2. You can trespass both the owner and the dog from your property. The owner is responsible for the dog. If the dog comes back, film and report it to the police. Commenter 3. You need to call animal control, file a complaint on each incident, and get then dog listed as a dangerous animal. That may be the only thing that makes Mr. Hawaii actually control his animals. Go to the board meetings, demand an open agenda, and report this guy. Name and shame, show the videos. If they refuse, cite state laws that regulate HOA meetings, and make sure all the BIOD names are reflected in your complaint. Commenter 4. Take up the matter with animal control. Most HOAs have leash rules, and most HOAs have a beast of a time trying to enforce them. An HOA-specific lawyer told my HOA, do not try to intervene in a dangerous dog off-leash condition, because it can make the HOA liable if an injury ever occurs by a dangerous dog. You have government agencies you pay taxes to that have legal precedent to intervene in this situation. Start using them. Reply. Partial response from the PD Animal Control. To answer your question, animal control officers deal with vicious dogs or animals we ourselves cannot handle. Due to the fact that the dog in question has not been biting people or attacking while he is out, there is nothing removed for Privacy County Animal Control can do in this situation. Stories number 15. Aita for wanting to tell my boyfriend's mom that her son has been stealing from my business. I 25F am really struggling with something in my relationship with my boyfriend 28M, and I feel like I have no one to talk to about it. He has been taking money from my small business without asking. The first time it happened, he told me he needed to move the money into his account for house expenses, but I later found out he just spent it. I stayed quiet to keep the peace, and after about a month he eventually put the money back. Before any of this, I suggested he get a second job since we have been talking about buying a house. He refused and said he would never do that, so I dropped it later. I invited him to help me with my business, which is making bouquets, and I offered to split profits with him. Recently, I discovered he had taken all of the money, both his share and mine, without telling me. When I confronted him, he got defensive, said he needed it for the house, and was rude about it. The only reason I even noticed was because the numbers were not adding up. I had already asked him not to use the money without permission, but he brushed it off and laughed like it was not serious. Now, he has done it more than once. And when I brought it up again, he showed no remorse and started giving me the silent treatment. What hurts the most is that if he had simply asked me, I would have lent him the money. Instead, he is sneaky, dismissive, and makes me feel like I am wrong for questioning him. I have not told anyone about this, not even my parents, because I feel embarrassed and ashamed. But part of me really wants to call his mom and explain what has been happening, hoping she might talk some sense into him. The problem is that I know he will see it as me embarrassing him or being disrespectful by involving her in what he calls private matters. P.S. The first time he took money, he asked after already taking it. He paid it back within a month. The second time, he paid it back within 48 hours after I hammered on about it. He's essentially using my business as some sort credit card for his personal life without my permission. Comments. Commenter 1. Part of me really wants to call his mom. Are you not an adult? For one thing, he should be your ex-boyfriend. And for another, forget calling his mom. Call the damn police. Obviously you're not the asshole, but come on, dude. You can make better decisions than this. This guy is straight up robbing you and you want to tell on him to his mom like you're on the playground? NTA, but you're making bad choices. Commenter 2, get an account in your name only. Do not tell him anything about it. Do not lend him anything. He is taking big advantage of you. Do not tell his mom. He's not a little boy. Any longer. Commenter 3, leave. Get off Reddit and break up with the thief already. Good grief. Why are you still with him? How many red flags does he have to throw up before you realize you've anchored yourself, who is basically the gum beneath your shoe? NTA, but stop being YTA to yourself. Commenter 4, YTA, because this is beyond stupid. Some guy is repeatedly stealing money from you and all you can think to do is tell on him to his mommy? You're a grown-ass woman. Act like it. You think his mom, 28 years in, just forgot to tell him to not steal from people and respect his partner? What in the actual fuck? Stories number 16. So, insurance company, you won't give me a letter with a clean driving record? I was grumbling about insurance companies in another thread, and led me to this memory. My wife was driving in Toronto many years ago. At an intersection, she waited at the red light, and then the advance green left arrow lit up and she started turning left. Other vehicles coming the opposite direction also had the same green left arrow for them to turn left. It's pretty standard stuff. Everyone's been through those while driving, unfortunately. The driver coming straight the other direction wasn't paying attention. He saw the vehicle next to him start moving, turning left. So he did too, going straight, through the red light and crashing into my wife. So I call the insurance company. I'm thinking this is pretty straightforward. My wife was legally turning left. Buddy ran a red light and hit her. Nay, they tell me. My wife was turning left. So regardless of right of way, she's deemed equally at fault. She should have anticipated someone would run the red light and waited to make sure he was going to obey the law. I grumbled, but they stood firm. That ruling was horse shit. But it wasn't a fight I was going to win. The damage was mostly cosmetic to the side of the car. $4K to repair. But the car was perfectly derivable and wasn't unsafe. It was also an older second vehicle we rarely drove anyways, so instead of getting it repaired and watching my rate subsequently go up 100% for the next 5 years, we shrugged and told the insurance company that we wouldn't claim it and take care of it ourselves. Fast forward 9 months, and we're moving somewhat unexpectedly to another province. My insurance company doesn't have jurisdiction in that province, so I need to change companies. I do. And new company wants a copy of my clean history from old insurance company. When I contact old insurance company, the female employee at the counter tells me that they can't give me a clean driving record because we were in an at-fault accident. So they will have to tell the new insurance company that I give them my best "are you fricking kidding me" look. She refuses to budge. Rules are rules, and it would be dishonest. Rules are rules? Okay, I go home and I look up the company's rules. It seems that I have 1 year to process a claim. I come back an hour later and smile at the nice lady. I tell her that if I'm going to get held liable for the accident on my record, I damn well might as well fix it. I'll have it fixed, get a rental car throughout, and basically run the repair bill as high as I legally can. And then I'll send a notice to the company head office explaining what I did and why I did it, advising them that I admired your integrity reading her name tag Ms. Karen Smith and not providing the letter, even though you cost your company over $5,000 in unnecessary expenses. I got a long pause. Well, maybe we can find a workaround. And 10 minutes later, she ended up providing me a letter stating that I had a claims-free driving history with the old insurance company. Not accident-free, claims-free. That satisfied the new insurance company. And life went on. Man, insurance companies are the devil. Comments. Commenter 1. The car was perfectly derivable. But what would have happened if you'd attempted to integrate it? Reply. Thanks for the smile. It took me a second, which made me appreciate it that much more. Commenter 2. One of my grumble curses in Ontario is how the provincial government failed to implement its promise to create a public-owned no-fault insurance system back in the 1990s, which would have made driving a lot cheaper for everyone here. They fumbled and then dropped the initiative after complaints and lobbying from private insurance companies. Commenter 3. My wife was turning left. So regardless of right-of-way, she's deemed equally at fault. She should have anticipated someone would run the red light and waited to make sure he was going to obey the law. I know you said you're in Canada, so what I'm about to write won't apply here. But I simply wonder why the thinking is so different up north, down here in the colonies. Violating a law in this manner is referred to as negligence per se. You are the actual and proximate cause of the damages. There can be no reasonable expectation of a plaintiff to assume that everybody on the road is going to be running red lights. This definitely fails the gut check. If out sounds wrong, it usually is legally wrong as well. Have they been having a bit too much of the special maple syrup? Commenter 4 had something similar happen. I was trying to make a left turn across 2 lanes, so I figured I'd turn into the turning lane in the middle and then safely merge into traffic. However, I was T-boned by someone using the turning lane as a travel lane. My insurance company told me that if I had been trying that exact maneuver with the intention of turning right instead of left, there wouldn't have been any issue at all. Arbitration ruled it was 50-50 fault, but my insurance company did not agree with that ruling at all. They told me as much, and that they would not consider me at fault, and would not be raising my rates. When I asked for a letter a couple years later to state my clean driving record, they were happy to provide stories number 17. Aita for leaving my boyfriend with our baby after he told me I'm a bad mom. My partner 30M and I 25F have been together for 4 years, and we have a 20-month-old son. I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I also have a small creative business for some pocket money. TW, miscarriage. 3 days ago I had a miscarriage. I didn't even know I was pregnant. I was in shock, emotional, crying, moody. And I've been trying to process that grief while still showing up as a mom and partner. My boyfriend didn't comfort me, didn't ask how I was doing, and basically brushed it off like it wasn't a big deal. Instead, he's been giving me the silent treatment and acting hostile, saying he doesn't know how to deal with my emotions. Today I finally asked him what was wrong and he exploded. During the argument, he said, I need to do more as a mom. Because I'm not doing enough, I act like my brain doesn't work when he comes home because I force him to be a dad. If I left, he would be able to do it by himself. For context, I handle basically everything for our son. I cook 3 meals a day, clean, do the bedtime routine, read to him, bathe him every night. And I'm still breastfeeding at 20 months. He's my best friend. We've never spent a night apart. My boyfriend has never even bathed him. He works 8-6 as a teacher and pays the bills, which he constantly reminds me of whenever money is tight. I also buy groceries and we split the baby's necessities equally. So when he called me a bad mom and said I don't do shit, all while I'm grieving a miscarriage that he clearly doesn't even care about, I snapped. I packed up my things, the things I bought for the baby, the dinner I had just finished cooking, and left. I even texted him the nighttime routine and told him good luck. He says a lot of shit when he's mad that he doesn't remember later, but some things you can't come back from. Now I'm at my mom's house, going through it. I miss my baby so much, but I can't keep dealing with the disrespect and the complete lack of empathy. It feels like I went through a loss alone while he was right next to me. I feel guilty for leaving my baby, but I couldn't take it anymore. Aita for leaving him with the baby and taking the things I bought? Comments. Commenter 1. Document everything about how your boyfriend take care of the baby and how he talks and replies. It might help with custody battle if it reaches that point. Reply. I have videos of some of the things he say to me and how angry he gets at me around the baby. Will that help? Commenter 2. NTA. I'm so sorry for your loss. Your boyfriend is being cruel, from what you've said. He's not pulling his weight as a partner or parent. He doesn't respect you, and he's holding finances over your head, which is unacceptable. He'll soon see just how wrong he is about how much you do. Classic FAFO situation. In all this, why WBTA if you stayed with your boyfriend unless he makes some serious changes? You deserve better. Commenter 3. You left him with his baby. Is he an AH for leaving you with your baby every single day? Of course not. He was out of line and he needs to step up. Even if you don't know about a pregnancy beforehand, a miscarriage sends your hormones into overdrive, making it even more difficult to process and recover from. You'd think an educated person could manage a couple of Google searches to understand what you are going through. NTA, please update us on what happens. I want to know how the weekend turns out. Commenter 4. NTA, you're grieving, exhausted, and already carrying most of the parenting load, and instead of supporting you, he tore you down. Leaving after being called a bad mom while you're in pain isn't abandoning your baby. It's setting a boundary against abuse. You still made sure your child was cared for by sending the routine, and you left to protect your mental health. Don't feel guilty. You're not wrong for refusing to tolerate disrespect and zero empathy. Stories number 18. Tifu by not knowing the importance of deodorant until much later in life. This is technically 30 years worth of Tifu growing up. I came from a family who was very loving and nurturing. However, when it came time to having the necessary talks like proper hygiene or the sex talk, anything that is deemed uncomfortable, my parents didn't touch those topics. It's either they didn't know they had to have the talk, or just knew and didn't know how to approach it. As I grew older, I didn't fully understand the uses of deodorant. I thought it was something you applied when you start sweating. I had no idea it's something you apply before you go out anywhere. Doesn't matter if you just took a shower, that it's a must to combat body odor. I had no reason to research its uses because I didn't know, nor did I have anyone come up to me to tell me I had body odor issues. Fast forward to 2022. I can't remember how, but that's when I learned the former, that it has to be applied before you go anywhere. It's not for when you're sweating, it for before you sweat, and before you go out. I was understandably ashamed and embarrassed that I did not know this. I went a good 30+ years of my life not using deodorant and stinking up a storm, making it uncomfortable for friends and coworkers to be around me. I was talking to my close friend for 20+ years, and she told me when I worked with her years back. I had bad BO issues and I was the talk of the workplace, which wasn't surprising since not using deodorant would cause that. I wish people didn't get offended by others telling them little self-improvement tips. Because had someone told me back in 2008 about my BO issues, and using deodorant I would have been able to fix it long before 14 years back. I think the problem is that we assume that the person is actively choosing not to use it, when it could easily be like me, and they simply didn't know that it's an important practice. TLDR, by using deodorant 30 plus years late in life, and nearly killing friends and coworkers with my BO prior to this edit 1. Good news is that I realized I started using quality cologne like Dior Sauvage around 2016, so until 2022 at least my odor issues were as bad. Comments. Commenter 1. It's crazy that no one in 30 years talked to you about this. I'm shocked that none of your friends or HR ever brought it up. Commenter 2. Deodorant is different to antiperspirant BTW. Deodorant tries to neutralize or cover the smell of BO, and antiperspirant tries to stop you sweating in the first place. Many products are designed to do both. Commenter 3. I don't know if it was a generation thing, but my dad didn't wear deodorant. He wore an undershirt to soak up the sweat. He also worked in an office and showered every night. I can't honestly say he smelled bad very often. My mom did wear deodorant and offered it to us when we hit puberty. Commenter 4. I think part of the problem in people not telling others things like this is that often they come across the wrong way. It's insulting more than just "do you know?" You also never know when someone will be sensitive about a topic like that and take it wrong, even if you're gentle about broaching the topic. It makes it a minefield to try to navigate when you really just want to be helpful. Stories number 19. My fiancé was tricked and lost our down payment and savings. My fiancé was selling his old mountain bike online. Someone messaged my fiancé with an offer, and this person said they would send my fiancé the funds in advance and send their cousin to pick up the bike the next day. My fiancé had promised me he would only accept pickup in person, with cash in hand, for context, and so this post makes sense. In Canada, the main way and safest transferring funds done is through your bank. It is tied to your bank account. You can only transfer what you have in your bank account, and even then there is a daily limit. It is also tied to your identity since it's tied to your bank account. My fiancé told the buyer he would accept a transfer. This is where the scam started. The buyer sent it, but he accidentally added an extra zero to the amount. My fiancé told the buyer he would transfer it back since it was a mistake. He told my fiancé he got locked out of his bank due to the mistake with the previous transfer, so my fiancé should transfer it to the buyer's cousin's account. My fiancé did that. I have no idea why my fiancé sent back the whole amount instead of the extra minus the payment for the bike. The buyer sent another transfer and the same thing happened. Then the buyer asked my fiancé to use a different app that starts with a P, since he was still locked out of his bank account. He sent it to my fiancé, but again he added an extra zero to the amount, and also doubled it. Again my fiancé sent back the funds. The buyer then asked if my fiancé would take a check. They arranged for my fiancé to meet the buyer's cousin in person, and they would exchange the bike for the check. When my fiancé got the check, it was higher than the agreed amount. But the cousin told my fiancé it was a bonus for all his trouble. My fiancé deposited the check and eventually used some of the funds, or attempted to. The funds from the first transfer was from a bank account that was stolen due to identity theft. That transfer was reversed. The funds from the transfer on the other app was from a stolen account as well, and the app reversed that transfer. The check was fake and was clawed back by the bank. This is all on top of the transfers that my fiancé made to pay back the criminal. Our entire savings account is gone. What we had saved for a down payment. We were looking for a house and now everything is gone. I didn't find out about any of this until after the fact. I get alerts anytime there is a transaction on our savings account, but my fiancé deleted them. I do shift work, so I was asleep, and my fiancé went into my phone and deleted the texts because he didn't want me to find out he broke his promise about only accepting cash for the bike. I am so angry. I'm not an angry guy in general, but I am furious about this. We have been dealing with the bank and with the other app. No success. We took the messages between my fiancé and the buyer, and the doorbell cam footage to different levels of the police. However, it didn't change anything. Our money is gone. We were hoping the bank could reverse the transfers my fiancé made at least, but the transfers were made into a compromised account and the money was immediately moved. The bank also says my fiancé voluntarily and willingly made the transfers. We have given the police report to the bank, but it's not likely to change anything. Also, because of the fake check, our savings account was closed. It had a zero balance, and so was my fiancé's personal bank account. I use a different bank, so my personal bank account wasn't affected. The bank says my fiancé has to take his banking somewhere else, and also that they will not provide mortgage services to us. Not that we will be buying a house now since our entire down payment is gone. I have warned my fiancé that anyone who says they can recover the money is lying, and he must ignore them. I will also ignore anyone who says they can do that. I'm devastated. I know it was just money, but I feel like I'm on a nightmare. I try to be a calm and laid-back guy, but that money was everything we had. We had to cancel with our wedding venue so we could get our deposit back, just so we could afford our rent for July. I'm so angry with my fiancé, not just about getting tricked, but because he lied to me. He broke his promise and he lied to me. More than the money, he broke my heart, and right now I hate him. This is like a nightmare I can't wake up from. Thanks for listening. Relevant comments, commenter 1. You need to call your federal police. Or maybe the RCMP if they're the Canadian analog to the American FBI. In the States, if the FBI is notified quickly enough, they often can recover some, if not all, the money, but wow, way to find out you're engaged to a guy who is willing to lie to you to hide bad news, and who is an absolute knob at handling things with common sense. Edit, to clarify calling federal authorities, not the local police reply. You need to call your federal police. Or maybe the RCMP if they're the Canadian analog to the American FBI. As I indicated in my post, we have done that. There is nothing any police can do or could have done. The minute the transfers were made, the money was gone. There is nothing we can do, and we were advised by them to ignore anyone who says they can recover the money. Commenter 2, yeah, obviously no success. They literally warn you 10+ times per app not to do this. They're not giving you anything. That money is long gone. Commenter 3, I would be rethinking my entire relationship if my partner did something this foolish. Commenter 4, you leave this person. He's proven himself to be an idiot who lies to achieve idiot actions. Compromising major life events you've worked hard to build? Marriage, tying yourself legally to this person, will not improve your situation. Update. My fiancé was tricked and lost our down payment and savings. It's been a rough year, but I am 32 wanted to post an update because so many people were helpful and supportive in what was a dark time. My fiancé, David M33, had promised me he would only take cash in person when selling his old mountain bike. I don't know why he accepted advance payments from someone he never met. I don't know why he kept taking electronic payments when there were so many problems. I don't know why he took a check instead of cash when he met the buyer in person. He lied to me about that. He also tried to hide it from me when the money started to be clawed back. He turned off the text alerts option from our bank when I was sleeping, so I didn't realize what was going on, or that money was getting clawed back. Losing the money when we were in the middle of looking for a house was devastating. What was even more devastating was David lying and trying to hide this from me. Between his lying, acting like this wasn't a big deal, losing our down payment, and having to cancel our wedding venue to get our deposit back so we could pay our rent, my relationship with David fell apart. I was so angry with him. I've spent the last year dealing with the police, the bank and the other app, and all of the wedding vendors we had to cancel on. The police say it is a common scam, and David wasn't the only victim they know about. It was hell. Even worse than all of that was David lying to me and doing this and not realizing he was being tricked out of our money. David and I had moved out here a few years ago because the house prices were the lowest in the country. After we broke up, I heard David moved back to his home province. I'm staying here. I have a life here, a good job, and I'm not exactly on the best of terms with my family. But having to start over from scratch after what David did was hard. The last year was a dark time. Not the worst in my life, but close. David tried to say I was victim blaming him because I was angry. He said he tried to hide what happened because he was ashamed. But he destroyed my trust and our relationship. Some days I still can't believe this happened. In short, my relationship with David is over. I had to find a new place to live. Our savings were lost and I'm starting over from scratch. I will be okay, but it was a hard year. Top comments, commenter 1, you weren't victim blaming. You were idiot blaming, commenter 2. This sort of thing is why people should have a separate account for day-to-day expenses, preferably in a different bank from savings accounts, commenter 3. This is why I turn off auto deposit before giving out my email. For anyone who doesn't know, in Canada, e-transfer can be cancelled until it gets deposited in the other person's bank. So if someone tries to send the wrong amount, you just don't accept it. Commenter 4. That's really, incredibly, unbelievably 1000% his fault. There were so many signs and indications of fraud that a blind, mute, deaf invalid would have picked up on them. I pity someone who would choose to be in a relationship with such a fool. Stories number 20. Aita for asking my coworker to not talk about bondage in the office. I feel like I'm losing my mind and could use some outside perspectives on this. I 28F work at a small insurance agency that has 10 employees. We're an eclectic bunch, but we all do our best to get along and help one another when we can. One of our part-time receptionists, Susie 56F, has been acting oddly as of late, and it came to a head between her and I yesterday. Susie recently got back from a trip to her hometown of NYC, and seems to have brought a brand new obnoxious personality back as a souvenir. For the past 2 weeks, she's been oversharing about her divorce, menopause, hookups she had on vacation, and her plans to become a stand-up comedian. Yesterday, she was yammering on about her dating life while I was trying to work, when all of a sudden she said, "Honestly, my dom, Ernest, is just a master with a flogger." My tone was definitely sharp when I spoke to her, but all I said was, "Susie, that was very inappropriate. Please don't talk about that kind of stuff in the office." Since then, she has been very cold towards me, and has done her best to avoid doing any of the admin tasks I send her. I just received an email saying she has requested a meeting between the two of us and our supervisor about my hostile behavior. Please understand I'm not a prude, nor am I trying to shame her. I just don't think talking about BDSM in the workplace is appropriate. Comments, Commenter 1, NTA. You go to that meeting and you say, "I'm glad we're talking about this. Susie talks about sex and makes me uncomfortable. I'd like the harassment to stop." Commenter 2, NTI. Say this as a kinky person. She is being wildly inappropriate. I would focus on that, not the content of what she is doing. Explicit activities of any kind, vanilla or no, have no place in the workplace. Reply, absolutely. I have kinks. The volumes of explicit Lord of the Rings fanfic I've written can attest to that. But I know discussing that would definitely make the rest of my coworkers uncomfortable, so I save it for my friends and the internet. Fingers crossed my supervisor backs me up. We aren't besties, but we mostly get along. Commenter 3. In the BDSM world, this is verboten. You do not include anyone on your kinks unless they are part of them. Nobody needs to know what I do to my husband behind closed doors, and sharing it is inviting Simone in without their permission. Even exhibitionism is supposed to have rules. Unfortunately, this woman seems poorly indoctrinated, and her hobby BDSM is making all of us look bad. Commenter 4, NTA. Talking about her sex life with anyone who has not given express permission for that is not appropriate, and talking about it in the workplace is doubly so. I would love to hear how she tries to spin this to the supervisor. Stories number 21. Tifu by telling my 4-year-old the truth and traumatizing him. This happened a while ago. Backstory. There was a girl that passed away in an accident in the next town over. She was in middle school and her name was Amanda, fake name in case someone who knows her sees this because I don't want to upset anyone. The day her photo was released in the news, my son was watching over my shoulder as I was reading the news and he asked who she is. I always try to tell my kids the truth when they ask me questions, but in an age-appropriate way. I gently explained who she was and what happened to her and that she passed away. He asked several questions and I answered the best I could. Now here is where I messed up. He asked me what her name was, and I told him it was Amanda. I told him not to talk to his friend at school about it because it could make them sad since some young children don't do well with those kinds of topics. He asked if his teachers knew about it, and I said probably so. The next day I warned his teacher that we had the conversation just in case it came up, so she was prepared in the event that it did. He goes to a very small preschool and I have a good relationship with all his teachers. Later that day I got a message from his teacher. Here is where I realized my mistake. She sent me a photo of one of his classmates that I recognized, but I didn't know her name. She has the same general color and style of hair as the girl that passed away, teacher says. You do know that it wasn't our Amanda that passed away, right? My heart dropped. I didn't realize that my son had a classmate had the same name as the girl from the accident. So my son went to school and was devastated because he thought his friend passed away. Coincidentally, she wasn't there that day. Teacher wasn't upset and was quickly able to rectify the situation and his understanding of it. When I picked him up that afternoon, I explained again that his friend Amanda is fine, and that there can be more than one person with the same name. It took him asking for a few times if she was really okay before everything went back to normal. But I felt awful for traumatizing my son thinking his friend was gone, TLDR. I told my son a child passed away, and he believed it was his friend and he was traumatized. Comments. Commenter 1. Honestly, kinda wholesome. He cared so much about his friend, like, yeah, sad moment, but shows how big his heart is. Reply. He certainly is a very sweet and caring child. Commenter 2. Oof, that's such an easy mistake to make. You were being honest and thoughtful. It just happened to collide with the name coincidence. Kids take things literally. So of course his brain filled in the blanks. The important part is you caught it, cleared it up, and his teacher had your back. Don't beat yourself up. You didn't traumatize him for life. You just gave him a rough day and a new lesson about names. Reply. I cried when I first realized the mistake, but by the end of the day I didn't feel as guilty. It was a life lesson and he came out better on the other side. But I learned from it too. Commenter 3. Whoops. Like your boy, I have an anxiety disorder. And I had a wacky misunderstanding about death when I was a kid. If it's any consolation, I can assure you mine didn't traumatize me. What happened was that my mom told me we were going to a wake for someone who died. I knew the deceased slightly, but I was also only 5, so I didn't really get death. I asked why they call it a wake. Mom said it's because you would sit and watch to see if the person was going to wake up. That was historically the case, and might be the etymology of the word. However, Mom neglected to mention that in the modern era, death is confirmed scientifically, and the corpse is embalmed, therefore guaranteeing they won't wake up. I planted myself in the front row of the funeral parlor and stared at that dead body, hoping I'd be the first to know if it started breathing again. It did not. But some people present wondered why a kindergartner was so fixated on a corpse. Reply, oh my, I could totally see my son having that same line of thinking. He was only a couple of weeks away from turning 5 when this happened. Commenter 3. Reply. It's a prime age for misunderstandings. Curiosity collides with lack of context. All you can do is continue being honest and answering all his questions, like my parents did. I'm sure you're doing great. Commenter 4. I became a stepfather when I was in my mid-30s. I was watching TV with my stepdaughter about a month after I had joined the family. I can't remember what show we were watching, but a character died, and I thought it was a teachable moment. I turned to my 12-year-old SD and said that death is a part of life and is coming for us all. She had not yet fully warmed to the new living arrangements, so she glared at me and defiantly said, "You first." She was clearly expecting some kind of conflict or negative reaction from me, and was genuinely surprised when I laughed out loud and totally agreed that barring accident or misadventure I would probably die before her. Don't feel bad about being truthful with your kid's death. Illness and aging all suck, and there aren't many ways to sugarcoat life. It's not a standalone message. And I went on to introduce her to movies like Dead Poets Society and Ferris Bueller to talk about taking joy with the time we have. Stories number 22. My husband and I are breaking up over something from 3 years ago. Things got pretty bad between us after the first year, but we didn't break up. Lots of bad on the in-between. The reason we're breaking up? 3 years ago, someone took advantage of my drink being left alone at a friend's house, and you can guess what that led to. When I went home the next morning, it was an absolutely shit storm with him. I was honest about what happened when I found the marks on me. You let another man touch you? I can't get the image of another man sleeping with you out of my head. How disgusting can you be? Our bedroom life suffered for the last 3 years, until 3 nights ago when it came to a head, where he admitted he harbored animosity toward me for not going to the cops, and not telling him the man's name. When he admitted he would never see me the same. My whole adult life I have been with this man. We got together when I was 18, he was 23, and now it's all gone, 2 kids. My whole adult life, 2 dogs I worked so hard to build. It's all gone and I feel so stuck. I don't know how people push through everything like this, but I guess I'll know soon enough. Edit. I didn't expect this to get, well, any attention honestly, so let's clarify things. I didn't go to the cops because I was ashamed and embarrassed. Simply enough, I had no other reasoning other than I couldn't handle it. My husband absolutely knew I wasn't lying. He saw the marks and the tests. Please don't act as though this was the beginning of our issues. It wasn't. I had never had a relationship before, and my stupid 18-year-old brain thought this man had his shit together, and I was excited to build a life with him. When it tumbled, I couldn't let go of him. Trauma bonds are real, and they're fucking hard. It seems so many of you have never experienced this, and for that, I'm thankful for you. I'm glad you've never felt the trauma. I'm glad you've never felt the shame so strong you break every mirror in your house and don't touch your phone for months. I pray you never do, to those of you who have. I'm proud of you for making it through, and I hope to draw from your strength comments. Commenter 1. Your husband seems to only care how it affects him. Like, did he ever express any concern for your well-being? He sounds horrible. Reply. I got slapped, and then he went into the backyard and went apeshit when it happened. Commenter 2. I cannot believe MFS are asking OP to prioritize the husband's feelings as if she wasn't literally raped. Commenter 3. I was 19 when I was drugged in date. Raped by somebody I thought I could trust. I didn't go to the cops either, because like you, I felt humiliated and ashamed. But there were more reasons than that. I didn't want my parents to know because I didn't want them to look at me different. I didn't want to see pity or sadness in their eyes, knowing that they weren't able to protect me or look at me and think about their daughter being raped. I just didn't want that label attached to me. Heck, I didn't even necessarily admit it to myself right away. Because who wants to be a raped victim? The answer is nobody. I didn't want to go to court and be in front of people or be interviewed by the cops. I just wanted to forget that it happened. I actually woke up in the middle of my assault. He was having sex with me, and he had his hand around my neck. I was terrified, and I thought he was going to kill me. I wanted to fight back. I wanted to push him off, but my arms and legs simply wouldn't respond. My arms and legs felt like cement. I could barely speak, and then I passed back out and didn't wake up until morning. The next day, things were fuzzy. I knew what had happened, but there were big blank spots in between from when I remember getting tired to somehow ending up in my bedroom with him having sex with me. This was the 90s, and so date rape drugs were kind of new, and I lived in a small town and didn't think that that was something that would happen here. It wasn't till about 6 months later that I happened to be doing some college homework at home, and there was a talk show on that was discussing date rape drugs. That's when the light bulb went off and it was done that I realized what he had done to me. Because up until that point, I didn't have a lot of sexual experience. And while I thought it was weird that I had fallen asleep during sex, I couldn't figure out how I did that, or if it was even possible. I even second-guessed myself, wondering if I had consented, but I know I hadn't. At least not while I was undrugged. I often wonder how many women he did that to, because I don't think I was the first one with how smooth he was about it. When the Me Too movement came about, that's when I really accepted and admitted to myself that I had been raped. During that time, I had found out that several of my other friends, including a cousin, had also been sexually assaulted or raped in their teens and early 20s as well, and none of them reported it. We have a real problem with rape culture in this country, and I think a lot of it happens when we are young because we don't have the guts to report it. Older me with 100% go to the cops, but teenage me was too humiliated and embarrassed and was afraid I wouldn't be believed. I'm sorry your husband is being a complete AH about this. This wasn't your fault. But it also sounds like he's abusive as well, so TBH, this is probably a blessing in disguise. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but you have your whole life ahead of you, and you certainly don't want your children watching you get abused either. And considering that he's abusive, it doesn't surprise me that he uses it against you. The good thing is you're still really young and you can go and find somebody who will treat you so much better. Commenter 4. A man who blames his wife for being raped has no business being married. I guarantee you that you will be better off without this guy. Stories number 23. Aita for destroying my brother's cherished memories of our grandfather. Asshole, so I'm a M39, my brother is 37. I'm quite the Halloween lover and decorate my front yard every year, and I really enjoy being creative and making my own props as well. Today, I was going into the garage to grab my neon green skeleton. Then I saw the old hand-carved merry-go-round horse my grandfather had made years ago. that after he passed away, my grandma gave to my brother. Even though we both wanted it, well, my brother had taken it and painted over it, and it had sat on our outdoor back porch for almost 2 years. Then, when we got our porch redone, he just tossed it out on the backyard patio in the elements for 6 months before finally tossing it into the garage where it's been for probably another 4-6 months. Now, it's neglected, it's broken, cracking, and was covered in dust and cobwebs and just looked terrible. I decided to spray paint it all black, and was gonna hit it in spots with some glow in the dark green paint I had that would make for a cool effect at night. Then have the skeleton riding it while holding a lantern. Well, my brother saw it painted black and lost his effing mind. In our front yard, he's screaming and cussing at me that I'm destroying his property and the cherished memories of our grandfather he had. I explained to him that the way he's treated this horse has not been in a cherished way, and leaving it in the elements and garage for over 3 years to rot and ruin shows he really didn't care about it all that much, and that's he's overreacting for no reason. He picks up the lantern and proceeds to punt kick it into the front of the house, begins aggressively crying, and runs in the house where he continues to cry uncontrollably. My mom tried to remain neutral about it, though she admittedly sees no issue with what I did. Thoughts among family and friends is mostly split. But I wanted to know what neutral parties thought about it. Am I the asshole? Or is my brother overreacting? Commenter 1. It was his. You said after he passed away my grandma gave to my brother. So, regardless of how he treated it, you should have asked him before painting it. YTA Commenter 2. It was his property, and you took it without asking. It's that simple. No matter how you try to spin it. YTA Commenter 3. YTA enormously. You knew what you were doing because you're jealous your grandmother gave it to your brother. It wasn't yours. Also, I hope the ages are wrong, and you're 19 and 17. LMAO, if not big yikes, grow up. Commenter 4. YTA. How the hell did you make it almost 4 decades without the lesson, ask others before you use their stuff, ever once getting through? Stories number 24. My sister asked to borrow money from me, and I said no after finding out she lied about what it was really for. Now the whole family thinks I'm heartless. So here's the situation. I'm 34 years old, married, with 1 daughter. I've been working in IT for about a decade now, and my wife Hannah is a nurse. We're not rolling in money, but we live comfortably. We budget, we save, and we try not to live above our means. My younger sister Allison is 29. She has always been the type who gets herself into situations. She's not a bad person, but she has a long track record of being irresponsible with money. Growing up, I was the responsible one, and she was the free spirit. I went to college, worked part-time jobs, and paid my way. Allison dropped out of community college after 1 semester and spent most of her 20s bouncing between retail jobs, boyfriends, and apartments. Every time she had a chance to get stable, she'd make a decision that blew it up. She got a car once, didn't keep up with payments, and it was repossessed. She got an apartment, spent her rent money on concert tickets and makeup, and ended up moving back in with our parents. That's kind of been her cycle. The thing about Allison is, she's charming. My parents, especially my mom, tend to baby her. I don't think they ever really stop seeing her as the little one who needed more help. So when she messes up, they rally around her. While I'm expected to just be the solid, dependable brother who understands and keeps things together, it's been a pattern my whole life. Anyway, a couple of months ago, Allison called me and asked if she could borrow $1,500. Now, that's not a small amount for me. I asked her what it was for, and she told me it was for car repairs. She said her transmission was going out and the mechanic quoted her a number that she just couldn't cover. She swore up and down that she needed her car to keep her new job at a dental office, and if she couldn't pay for it, she'd lose the job and be ruined. I hesitated. I don't like loaning money to family, especially to Allison, because history has shown I won't see it again. But she really leaned into it, told me she was turning a corner, and just needed help this one time. She made me feel guilty about not supporting her when she's trying to be better. I told her I'd think about it. Before giving her an answer, I mentioned it to Hannah, and she wasn't thrilled. She knows the history. She said, "If you loan her this money, you're not getting it back. You know that, right?" And I did know that. but a part of me wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. Well, here's where things went sideways. A week later, I was having dinner at my parents' house. Allison wasn't there, but my mom was talking about how excited she was for Allison's trip to Las Vegas with her friends. I nearly choked on my food. I asked, "Wait, what trip?" My mom said Allison and a couple of her girlfriends had been planning this getaway for months, and they finally bought the tickets and booked the hotel. I sat there stunned. I pulled out my phone later and did a little digging, and sure enough, Allison had been posting about Vegas vibes and countdown to girls' trip on her Snapchat story. She wasn't asking me for $1,500 for car repairs. She wanted money to cover the trip and probably spin some stories so she wouldn't look irresponsible. The next day, I called her and confronted her. I told her straight up, "I know you don't need the money for your car. You're going to Vegas. Why did you lie?" And she just deflected. She said something like, "Well, I do need car repairs too. I just figured I could handle both if I had your help. And I didn't want to tell you about the trip because you always judge me." I told her point blank that lying to me about why she needed the money was crossing a line, and I wasn't giving her a cent. She blew up, said I was being controlling, that I don't trust her, that I've always looked down on her. I told her, "Allison, you don't get to guilt me into paying for a vacation. If you can afford Vegas, you can afford your car." She hung up on me. Not long after, I started getting calls from my mom. She was upset that Allison was devastated and felt abandoned by her brother. My mom's take was, "It's just money, and you make good money. Why not help your sister out? She's your family." I tried to explain the lying part, but my mom kept brushing it off like it wasn't a big deal. "She just didn't want you to lecture her," she said. My dad stayed mostly quiet, but he did say something about how I shouldn't hold grudges against my sister. Then Allison started posting vague crap on Facebook, stuff like, "Some people only love you when you're useful to them," and "It's always the closest ones who hurt you the most." Of course, family members and friends chimed in with sympathy, and I got messages from 2 aunts asking why I was abandoning my sister. Now I'm not blind. I know how this looks to everyone else. I make more money than Allison. I live a stable life. She's the one always struggling. So to outsiders, it probably does look like I'm just being stingy while she's desperate. But I can't get past the fact that she lied. If she had just come to me and said, "I really want to go to Vegas but can't afford it. Can you help me out?" I still probably would have said no. But at least it would have been honest. Instead, she manipulated me by pretending her job and livelihood were on the line. And that crosses a major boundary for me. I'm not a bank. I'm not her safety net. I work hard for what I have, and I've got a wife and daughter to think about. But now I'm stuck as the bad guy in the family. Every holiday since then has been awkward. My mom makes little digs about how I don't understand what it's like to struggle. And Allison barely speaks to me. When she does, it's short and bitter. My dad avoids the topic altogether, which honestly just makes it worse because the tension is thick. I keep asking myself if I should have just swallowed my pride, handed over the money, and kept the peace. But then I think about the precedent that sets. If she knows she can lie and guilt me into helping her, it'll never end. So here I am, being painted as selfish because I refuse to fund my sister's lie. It's exhausting. Part of me feels guilty, but another part of me feels like I finally drew a line in the sand that needed to be drawn years ago. Update. So, a few months have gone by since the whole Money Vegas situation blew up. At first, I thought maybe things would calm down once Allison actually went on her trip and realized she couldn't just manipulate people for cash. But if anything, the aftermath has been even more dramatic than I expected. Allison went to Vegas. That much I know because she posted nonstop about it. I don't follow her on social media, but my wife does mostly out of curiosity, and some mutual friends still share her stuff. She was at pool parties, drinking cocktails bigger than her head, posing in sparkly dresses, and gambling like she was in some music video. I looked at a few of the pictures and couldn't help but shake my head. This was the emergency car repair she needed money for. When she got back, I didn't hear from her directly for a while. But word got back to me through my mom that her car really did break down shortly after the trip. Apparently the transmission went out for real, and she couldn't afford to fix it. She ended up borrowing money from one of her friend's parents to cover part of the repair. and then guilted my mom into covering the rest. So basically, her gamble worked. She got the Vegas trip and still managed to get her car fixed, all without lifting a finger. Meanwhile, the tension between us has gotten worse. She hasn't spoken to me except for one passive-aggressive text where she said something like, "I just don't understand how my own brother could turn his back on me when I needed him most." I didn't even respond because I knew anything I said would just fuel the fire, but my mom has been relentless. She keeps calling me, trying to convince me to make amends with Allison. Every conversation is the same. "You don't know how hard it is for her. You've always had it easier. She just wanted to feel like someone had her back." And when I remind her that Allison lied about the reason she needed the money, she brushes it off like that's not important. I swear. It's like my mom lives in a completely different reality where Allison can do no wrong. The worst was at Thanksgiving. We all gathered at my parents' house, and I knew it was going to be tense. But I tried to keep things civil. Allison barely looked at me, but I figured that was better than a blow-up. Everything was fine until dessert. When my mom started in with her guilt trip routine, she made some offhand comment about how some people in the family can't even get help when they're struggling. While looking directly at me, everyone went quiet. I calmly said, "Mom, if you're going to bring this up, then let's be clear. I didn't give Allison money because she lied about what it was for. It wasn't a struggle, it was a vacation." That lit the fuse. Allison slammed her fork down and went off about how I'm always judging her, how I think I'm better than everyone else, and how I humiliated her by telling people about the lie. I hadn't actually told anyone besides Hannah, but apparently she assumes I did because she knows how bad it makes her look. The whole night went downhill from there. My dad tried to diffuse things by changing the subject, but Allison was crying, my mom was glaring at me, and I could feel everyone's eyes on me like I was the villain. Hannah finally spoke up and said, "Allison, no one forced you to lie. If you wanted help for a trip, you should have just asked, but don't act like your brother owes you money when you deceived him." That shut things down, but it also made it clear whose side we were on. And I think it cemented the rift. Since then, Allison has basically cut me off. She doesn't invite me to anything, doesn't respond to texts I did try once to reach out, and has unfriended both me and Hannah on social media. My mom is still in my ear about fixing things, but honestly, I don't see how I can. I love my sister, but I can't reward manipulative behavior just because she's family. What's weird is that, in some ways, I feel lighter. For years, I've been the responsible brother who cleans up her messes or gets guilted into helping. Drawing this line has been hard, but it also feels like reclaiming my boundaries. Hannah has been super supportive, and even my dad, while he won't say much directly, pulled me aside one night and said quietly, "Don't let them make you feel bad. You're not wrong." That meant more than I can put into words. So right now, that's where things stand. Allison and I aren't really in contact. My mom is still upset with me, and family gatherings are awkward. But I feel like I finally stopped enabling her. Maybe it'll take time. Maybe it'll never fully heal. But at least I know I did what I needed to do for my own sanity. Final update. It's been almost 2 years since the whole loan me money for car repairs actually Vegas drama. And I figured I'd give one last update because a lot has changed. Some good, some not so good. The biggest shift is that I've stopped carrying the guilt. Back when this all started, I was constantly second-guessing myself, replaying the fights in my head, wondering if I'd been too harsh. But time and distance really do change perspective. When you're in the middle of family drama, it feels like the end of the world. With space, you start seeing things clearly. I wasn't being cruel. I was enforcing a boundary that needed to be enforced a long time ago. So here's where everyone stands now. Allison and I. We don't have much of a relationship anymore. After Thanksgiving that year, she pretty much froze me out entirely. I sent her a Christmas card. She never responded. I texted her on her birthday. She left it on read. For a while, I thought about pushing harder to fix things. But eventually I realized that any reconciliation would only happen on her terms, meaning I'd have to pretend the lie never happened and go back to being her financial safety net. I couldn't do that. I hear bits and pieces through my mom. Allison's job at the dental office didn't last long. She bounced around a couple of places, lived with a boyfriend for a while, then broke up and moved back with my parents again. She's still working retail, still posting about haters and toxic family on social media. Though Hannah and I aren't connected to her accounts anymore. Sometimes it stings, but mostly it just feels distant, like it's not really about me anymore. It's just Allison being Allison. My mom, this part is tough. Our relationship took the hardest hit in all of this. For the better part of a year, she couldn't let it go. Every phone call had some comment about how family should stick together, or your sister just needs support. It got to the point where I started pulling back from my parents. Too, I used to see them every other weekend. Now it's maybe once a month, and usually just for dinner where we stick to light topics. My dad has been more understanding, though. He doesn't like conflict, but he has quietly backed me up a few times when my mom pushes. He told me once, "Your mom just worries about Allison because she doesn't think she can handle life. But you're fine, you don't need her. That's why she leans on you to take care of your sister." That conversation really stuck with me. The surprising thing is how much lighter my own little family feels. With the drama at arm's length, I've been able to focus more on Hannah and our daughter, Sophie. I've thrown myself into being present, helping Sophie with school projects, taking her to soccer practice, actually enjoying our weekends without worrying about Allison's latest mess. Hannah told me one night, "You seem happier now that you've let go." And she's right. I won't lie, there are moments I miss my sister, not the chaos, but the version of her that used to laugh with me about dumb stuff when we were kids, or the times she'd call me late at night just to talk when she was lonely. I hold out hope that maybe, someday, she'll grow out of the lying and manipulation and want a genuine relationship again. But I've stopped waiting for it. If it happens, it happens. If not, I've made peace with that. Do I regret refusing her money that time? No, I think if I'd caved, I'd still be in the cycle today. Her asking, me giving, her resenting me anyway. Drawing the line cost me a lot in terms of family dynamics. But it also gave me back my self-respect. The last family gathering we were all at together was this past Easter. Allison barely acknowledged me. My mom fussed over her like usual. But I sat next to Hannah and Sophie, watching my daughter eat jelly beans and laugh. And I realized I wasn't angry anymore, just detached. I don't need to fix Allison, and I don't need to keep sacrificing my peace to play the good son. So yeah, that's where it all stands. My sister and I are estranged. My mom and I are a little more distant, but my marriage and home life are stronger than ever. Sometimes choosing boundaries doesn't make you the hero in everyone else's story, but it does make you the hero in your own. And at the end of the day, that's enough. Stories number 25. My boyfriend said I embarrassed him because I called out his mom during dinner. I'm 27F. My boyfriend Ryan is 29M, and we've been together for a little over 2 years. For the most part, things have been really good between us. He's funny, kind, and we have a lot in common. But if there's one consistent problem in our relationship, it's his mom, Linda. From the very beginning, I noticed she had a certain way of treating me that made me feel like I was under a microscope. She's the type of woman who's polite on the surface, but everything is laced with little digs and comments that sound like compliments if you don't listen too closely. Things like, "Oh, you're very independent, huh? I guess that's because you didn't grow up with a traditional family like Ryan did." Or, "That's a nice dress, but it's not really something I would have chosen for my son's girlfriend." I brushed it off at first because Ryan insisted she was just old-fashioned and didn't mean harm, but it got harder and harder to ignore. For example, when I first stayed over at Ryan's apartment, she came by unannounced the next morning with groceries and walked in on me in pajamas. Instead of saying hello, she asked if I always slept so late, that kind of thing. The dinner that sparked this whole mess happened last week. Ryan invited me to join him and his family for his dad's birthday dinner at a nice steakhouse. His dad, Mark, is a sweet guy. He's quiet and more laid back than Linda, and I've always gotten along with him. Ryan's younger sister, Emily, was there too, along with her husband, Jason. The evening started off fine, but as always, Linda found ways to needle me. She asked about my job. I work in marketing, and when I explained a campaign I was managing, she smirked and said, "Well, it must be nice to have a job where all you do is sit at a computer all day." Then she turned to Emily, who's a nurse, and said, "Now there's a career that really makes a difference in people's lives." Everyone kind of chuckled awkwardly, and I let it slide. I told myself not to ruin Mark's birthday dinner by getting defensive. But Linda just kept going. When I ordered a glass of wine, she made a comment about how some people can drink during the week without worrying about getting up early because they don't have demanding jobs. She even made a jab about my family. My parents are divorced, and she asked me in front of everyone if I thought that's why I struggled with commitment. That's when I snapped. I put my fork down and said, "Linda, I've tried to be polite to you every time we're together, but these little comments are getting old. You don't have to like me, but please stop insulting me in front of everyone." The table went dead silent. Emily looked down at her plate. Jason coughed into his napkin, and poor Mark just looked exhausted. Linda's face turned red, and she immediately played the victim, saying, "I was just making conversation. I can't believe you'd accuse me of being rude at my husband's birthday dinner." Ryan jumped in, but not the way I hoped. Instead of backing me up, he said, "Babe, you're embarrassing me. You could have just ignored it." He spent the rest of the dinner giving me side-eye and barely speaking to me. When we got home, he told me I had overreacted and made things awkward for everyone. He said, "You know how my mom is. Just let it roll off your back. Now she thinks you hate her. And you made me look bad." I told him I wasn't going to sit there and let his mom disrespect me, especially in front of other people. He said, "Well, if you keep this up, I don't know how this is going to work long term. My family is important to me." That really hurt. I've put so much effort into trying to fit in with his family. But it feels like no matter what I do, his mom finds a way to tear me down. And instead of defending me, Ryan acts like I'm the problem. The thing is, I wasn't yelling or cussing her out. I said it calmly but firmly. I wanted to set a boundary. Yet now I'm questioning myself. Was I wrong to call her out at the table? Should I have waited until later and talked to Ryan privately? I know it wasn't the best timing, but I also feel like I've been biting my tongue for 2 years, and it just boiled over. I keep replaying it in my head. The way Ryan looked at me like I had ruined everything. The way Linda gasped dramatically and clutched her necklace like I'd accused her of a crime. And the awkward silence that followed. Now things are tense between Ryan and me. He's been distant all week, and every time I bring it up, he says, "Just drop it. We'll talk later." But we never actually talk. Emily texted me privately and said she was glad I said something because their mom has always been like that, but she doesn't have the nerve to confront her. That made me feel a little better, but it doesn't fix the rift with Ryan. I love him, but I don't know if I can stay in a relationship where his mom gets to take shots at me, and I'm expected to just smile through it. At the same time, I don't want to blow up a good thing because of one bad dinner. I keep wondering if there was a better way I could have handled it. The whole situation has me second-guessing myself. Am I really the one who embarrassed him? Or was I just standing up for myself after being pushed too far? So, a lot has happened since I posted about calling out Ryan's mom during that dinner. I honestly didn't expect so many people to weigh in, but reading through advice from strangers made me realize something. I've been minimizing what I've been dealing with for 2 years. I kept telling myself Linda's comments were just quirky old-fashioned mom stuff. But no, it's mean-spirited, and Ryan has been enabling it. The day after I posted, Ryan and I finally sat down to talk. Or at least, I tried to talk. He was in this super defensive mode right off the bat. I started by saying I didn't like how unsupported I felt when his mom insulted me in front of everyone. His response was, "You made a scene. You embarrassed me and my family." I asked him point blank, "Do you think it's okay for your mom to say those things to me?" And he just sighed and said, "That's just how she is. If you don't feed into it, she'll get bored." That floored me, because what he was basically saying was, I need to suck it up so his mom can keep taking shots at me, just so he doesn't have to deal with confrontation. I told him that's not fair to me, and I asked if he would be okay with me making similar digs about his mom. He said, "That's different. She's my mom." That conversation ended with me saying, "If you can't stand up for me, then I need to rethink if this relationship is right for me." He didn't really respond, just grabbed his keys and said he needed air. He came back hours later and slept on the couch. 2 days went by where we barely spoke. Then I got a text from Emily, his sister, asking if I was okay. She told me she had spoken to Ryan about it and that he was really torn. Apparently, he's always felt like he has to keep the peace between his mom and everyone else. She admitted their mom has a history of doing this kind of thing, not just to me, but to Emily too, especially when Emily was younger and dating. She said, "I wish I had stood up to her sooner. I actually respect you for saying something. That meant a lot, but it also made me angry. If even his own sister sees it, why can't Ryan?" A couple nights later, Ryan finally brought it up again. He said he's sorry for not backing me up, but he doubled down on saying I picked the wrong time and place. He said his dad told him the whole dinner was ruined after I spoke up. I asked him, "Do you think it was ruined because of me calling her out? Or because your mom couldn't stop herself from insulting me all night?" He didn't answer. Then he told me his mom is expecting me to apologize. That was the moment where something in me snapped. I said, "Absolutely not. I'm not apologizing for standing up for myself. If anything, she should apologize to me." Ryan looked at me like I was speaking another language. He said, "That's never going to happen. She doesn't apologize." I don't know why, but hearing that was like a light bulb moment. If he knows she'll never change, and his solution is just for me to roll over and accept it forever, what kind of future does that leave us? We ended up having a huge argument that night. I asked him what would happen if we got married and had kids. Was he going to let his mom treat me and them the same way? He got really quiet, and then he said, "You're making this too dramatic. My mom doesn't hate you. She just has strong opinions." I told him I can't be with someone who confuses cruelty for strong opinions. Since then, we've been in this weird limbo. He's been avoiding bringing me around his family, which is honestly a relief, but it also feels like he's punishing me for standing my ground. We live together, and the atmosphere in our apartment is tense. We're polite, but it feels like there's a wall between us now. Meanwhile, Emily has been checking in on me. She even came over one afternoon and told me straight up, "If he doesn't get it now, he never will. Don't let my mom bully you into silence. You don't deserve that." Honestly, she's been more supportive than Ryan has. I keep going back and forth in my head. Part of me thinks, okay, maybe I should have waited until after dinner to say something. Maybe I should have pulled Linda aside privately. But the other part of me, the louder part, keeps saying, "No, you weren't wrong. Enough is enough." The most telling thing, I think, is that Ryan keeps focusing on how embarrassed he was instead of how hurt I was. That says a lot. At this point, I don't know where our relationship is heading. I love him, but I don't think I can spend my life being treated like this and constantly told to just let it go. I'm not his mom's punching bag, and I refuse to become one. Final update. It's been about 4 months since that dinner blow-up, and I think I can finally close this chapter. A lot has happened, and honestly, I'm glad I posted here because reading everyone's comments and then stepping back to look at things clearly made me realize how badly I'd been gaslighting myself into thinking I was too sensitive. After my last update, Ryan and I stayed in that weird limbo for another couple of weeks. We coexisted, but every time we talked about it, we just went in circles. He kept saying, "You embarrassed me," and I kept saying, "Your mom humiliated me and you let it happen." Neither of us budged. Then came his dad's birthday dinner. I didn't want to go, but Ryan insisted, so I went. And guess what? Linda made another comment, this time about how I was probably too busy scrolling on my phone to ever cook a real meal. I wasn't even on my phone. I just sat there, staring at my plate. Ryan didn't say a word. He didn't defend me. He just kept eating like nothing had happened. That was my breaking point. On the drive home, I told him flat out, "If you can't stand up for me in front of your mom, then I don't want to be in this relationship anymore." He tried to argue, but I think even he knew it was pointless because we'd had this same fight 10 times already. The next day, I packed a bag and went to stay with my friend Jenna. He texted me a lot at first. Long emotional paragraphs about how I was overreacting, how his family would never change, how he thought I loved him enough to accept things as they were. And then the kicker. "If you can't handle my mom, you can't handle me." That's when I knew for sure it was done. I moved out 2 weeks later. It was hard. 2 years together is no small thing. And I did love him. But I can't build a future with someone who sees me as disposable when it comes to his family's approval. Here's the surprising part. Emily actually reached out to help me move. She told me she admired me for leaving because she wished she had stood up to her mom years ago. She said she doesn't know if she'll ever be able to, but seeing me draw the line gave her a weird sense of hope that maybe one day she could too. That really hit me. As for Linda, she apparently told the whole extended family that I was dramatic and couldn't handle a joke. I don't even care anymore. Let her tell whatever story she wants. It doesn't change the truth. And Ryan, from what Emily says, he's back to being his mom's golden boy, sitting quietly while she steamrolls everyone. I don't hate him. I don't even resent him. Really. I just pity him a little, because he'll probably spend his whole life bending to his mom's will, never realizing how much damage she's doing to every relationship he has. I won't pretend it was easy walking away. Breakups never are, but I feel lighter. I'm living in a little apartment with Jenna right now, saving up to get my own place. I've reconnected with old friends I kind of drifted from when I was wrapped up in Ryan's world. And the biggest change? I no longer feel like I'm bracing myself every time I walk into a room. That weight is gone. If there's one thing I learned from all of this, it's that love isn't enough if respect and support aren't there. 2. I wanted so badly to believe that Ryan and I were solid. But the truth is, if he couldn't even defend me from a constant barrage of insults, then I was just setting myself up for a lifetime of swallowing pain to protect his comfort. And that's not love. That's settling. So yeah, final update. Ryan and I are over. I'm rebuilding my life, and I finally feel like myself again. Sometimes the most embarrassing dinner isn't the one where you call someone out. It's the one where everyone else stays silent, and I'm proud I wasn't silent anymore. Stories number 26. My coworker is furious because I won't give up my Christmas vacation for her dream trip. I work at a mid-sized insurance company in Denver. I've been here for about 7 years, and for the most part, I like my job. It's not glamorous, but the pay is decent. The benefits are solid, and the office culture is usually pretty laid back. We're not one of those places where everyone's clawing at each other to get ahead. We've got deadlines, sure, but there's usually room for people to breathe. Every year, our department has to juggle vacation schedules, because the company requires at least 2 people to be working in each team during the holiday weeks. I'm on the claims processing side, and we're a team of 6, so basically, 4 people can take time off around Christmas, but 2 have to stay and cover. Fair enough. The company has a system where requests open up in April. It's first come, first served, but once you lock your vacation, it's yours unless you decide to give it up. I've been through this drill enough times that I always mark my calendar in advance. This year, I put in my request the very first day it opened. I wanted December 23rd through January 2nd. My parents live in Minnesota. And this year is extra important because my brother just had a baby and the whole family is flying in. It's going to be my niece's first Christmas. And I haven't seen my folks since last summer, so yeah. This trip means a lot to me. Everything was fine until about 3 weeks ago, when one of my coworkers, Sarah, pulled me aside after our morning meeting. Sarah's been here for maybe 2 years. She's 29, bubbly personality, kind of loud, and generally easy to get along with, though she can be pushy sometimes. She told me she wanted to talk real quick. She starts with, "So, I know you've got Christmas week off, but would you consider swapping with me? I'm trying to plan this big trip to Paris with my boyfriend. He found these amazing deals, but the only dates that work are right over Christmas." I honestly thought she was joking at first. I laughed and said, "Oh, sorry, but I've already got my flights booked and everything. My family's expecting me." She didn't laugh. She said, "I get that, but I mean, you see your family all the time, right? This is like a once-in-a-lifetime trip for me. I've never been to Europe. I just feel like since you've done Christmas with your family before, maybe it's fairer if you let me have this one?" I blinked at her because I couldn't believe she was serious. I told her no again, as politely as I could. "Sarah, I've had this plan since April. My parents already arranged the whole gathering. I can't cancel." She got this tight smile and said, "Okay, well, I just thought I'd ask." I figured that was the end of it. Spoiler, it was not the end of it. Over the next week, she brought it up again. First in passing. "You sure you don't want to rethink it?" Then in group settings, like at lunch, where she'd make little comments like, "Some people don't care if they ruin your dream vacation." She even joked about it during a Zoom call when our boss was on. "Oh, maybe if Matt changes his mind, I'll finally get to eat macarons in Paris." Our boss, Mark, didn't say much at first. He just kinda chuckled awkwardly. But after the third or fourth comment, I finally pulled Sarah aside and said, "Look, I need you to stop bringing this up. I've already told you no. It's not funny to me." She rolled her eyes and said, "Wow. You don't have to be so uptight. I just thought friends would help each other out." Friends? We're co-workers, not even close friends. It got worse. She started rallying people in the office. I overheard her telling 2 of our colleagues that I was being selfish and inflexible, because I go home all the time anyway. Which is not true. I live in Denver. My family is in Minnesota. It's not like I can just swing by for a weekend. Then last Friday, I got called into Mark's office. He shut the door and said, "So Sarah's mentioned she's disappointed about the vacation schedule. I just want to confirm, you're planning to keep your time off?" I said yes, absolutely. Mark nodded and said, "That's fine. You requested it first, it's yours, I just wanted to check in." But then he added, "It might help office morale if you explain to Sarah why it's important to you." That pissed me off a little. I don't owe Sarah a justification for my PTO, but I told him anyway. Just to be clear, I'm going to see my family. My niece was just born. "We've been planning this for months," Mark just said. "Okay, I'll let her know it's not changing." You'd think that would settle it. Nope, Sarah has been giving me the cold shoulder ever since. She sighs dramatically when I walk into the break room. She makes little digs like, "Some people just don't care about teamwork." She even made a comment about how karma always comes back around when you're selfish. At this point, it's getting ridiculous. I've tried to ignore her, but yesterday she went too far. We were in a team meeting, and she literally said, "Well, since Matt's Christmas is obviously more important than anyone else's, I guess we'll all just have to suck it up." Mark actually stopped her and said, "Enough, Sarah. This isn't appropriate." But she just crossed her arms and muttered something under her breath. Now I'm dreading the next few weeks at work. I feel like I shouldn't have to defend myself here. But somehow I'm the bad guy in her narrative. I don't know if she's trying to guilt-trip me into caving or if she just wants to make me miserable until the holidays are over. The thing is, I'm not giving up my vacation. My flights are booked, my family is waiting, and I'll be damned if I let someone guilt me out of spending Christmas with my niece just because she found cheap tickets to Paris. But wow, I did not expect this level of drama over something so straightforward, so a week has passed since the whole Christmas vacation drama blew up at work. And honestly, it's been exhausting in a way I didn't expect. I thought my coworker Melissa would just sulk for a bit and then let it go. But no, she's taken this to a level I didn't think possible. First off, she's basically made it her mission to turn the office against me. Every little interaction feels off, like people are polite. But there's this weird undercurrent of tension now. Melissa's been going around telling everyone her side of the story, painting it like I stole her once-in-a-lifetime chance to go to Europe at Christmas. She left out, of course, that I requested my vacation over a year ago, while she only thought of her dream trip a couple months back. And the kicker? She's framing it like I was offered the chance to switch with her, but was too selfish to do so. The other day in the break room, one of our coworkers, Heather, flat out said, "I mean, wouldn't it be nice to help a friend out? It's not like Christmas won't come around again." That stung. I snapped back with something like, "Yeah, except I've already paid for flights, reserved a cabin, and my parents are counting on me to actually be there." But then Melissa walked in all huffy, grabbed her coffee, and muttered, "Some people only think of themselves." It took everything in me not to lose it. To make things worse, Melissa went to our boss about it. Again, she tried to guilt-trip him into reconsidering the vacation approvals, saying it would boost office morale if I gave up my spot. Thankfully, my boss isn't a pushover. He called me in to reassure me that nothing was changing, and that vacation time isn't something you can just snatch away because someone else suddenly wants it. But he also admitted Melissa has been pestering him daily about it and suggested I keep my head down until it blows over. Easier said than done. I finally vented about it to my boyfriend, Matt, who immediately said, "She's jealous, period. You planned ahead, she didn't. That's not your problem." And while I know he's right, the petty side of me wanted to clap back harder than I already have. Because the audacity of someone thinking their last-minute whim matters more than my year-long plans. Insane. But here's the thing that really shook me. Melissa cornered me in the parking lot 2 days ago. She said, "Look, I don't think you understand what this means to me. I've been saving for years to take this trip. If I don't go now, who knows when I'll get another chance." I calmly told her I understood. But it's not fair to expect me to sacrifice my plans just because she didn't plan earlier. She went dead quiet for a second, then hissed, "You'll regret this." And then she just walked away. Now I'm not scared of her, but it definitely unsettled me. Like, what does that even mean? Is she going to make work hell until January? Try to sabotage me somehow? The whole situation has gotten so ridiculous that I actually emailed HR to document what happened. Just in case she escalates further, a couple of coworkers who I'm close to, like Sam and Jordan, have been supportive. They know I've had this vacation locked in forever and told me not to back down. But others have gotten kind of cold. It sucks feeling like people see you as the villain for not rolling over and letting Melissa have her way. Honestly, I'm counting down the days until my vacation now. Not just because I want to spend the holidays with my family, but because I need a break from this toxic nonsense. I refuse to let someone guilt-trip me into thinking I'm wrong for keeping what I earned fair and square. At the end of the day, I didn't take anything from Melissa. She just didn't plan ahead. That's not on me. All right, here's the final update on the Christmas vacation drama with my coworker Melissa. Buckle up, because it honestly got worse before it finally settled. After my last post, I figured things would just be icy until I left for my trip. Melissa had already cornered me in the parking lot, and I documented that with HR, so I thought I was in the clear. But of course, she didn't just let it go. The week before I was set to leave, she started doing this weird passive-aggressive campaign against me. She'd forget to CC me on important emails. She'd schedule meetings when she knew I was unavailable, and then act shocked when I missed them. She even made this snide comment during a team huddle about some people prioritizing Christmas cookies over the rest of us who actually care about the company. Everyone knew she was talking about me. The final straw before HR stepped in was when I caught her messing with one of my reports. I had a project due for a client, and somehow the numbers were completely off, like, deliberately changed. Thankfully, I keep backups of everything. When I checked the document history, guess whose name popped up in the edits? Melissa. I didn't even confront her. I marched straight to HR with the receipts. HR called us both in separately, and I guess Melissa realized she'd crossed a line, because she tried to play dumb. She claimed she was just trying to help, and must have accidentally changed things. HR wasn't buying it. She got written up, and my boss gave me another private meeting to say, "You did the right thing. Enjoy your vacation." So, Christmas rolled around, and I finally got to escape. I went up to the cabin with my family, drank hot cocoa, played cards with my siblings, and just unplugged. It was perfect. Exactly what I needed. And while I was gone, my phone blew up with messages from coworkers filling me in. Apparently, Melissa spent the entire holiday week sulking and making comments about how she should have been in Paris. One of my friends told me she even tried to guilt our boss one more time by saying company morale was at an all-time low because of favoritism. He shut that down fast. When I came back after New Year's, the office atmosphere was different. A lot of people who had been kind of cold toward me before finally admitted they didn't realize how long Melissa had been gunning for me. Once the sabotage thing came out, her little sob story crumbled. People stopped siding with her. She's still there, but she keeps her distance now. We're strictly professional, no small talk, no friendliness, which is fine by me. The funniest part? A week after I came back, Melissa made this dramatic Facebook post. Yes, I peeked. Someone sent it to me about toxic co-workers ruining dreams, and how she learned the hard way that selfish people always win. A few of our mutual rolled their eyes and messaged me like, "She's still hung up on that vacation?" It's almost embarrassing how much she tanked her own reputation over something that was never mine to give up in the first place. At the end of the day, I don't regret